Everybody, welcome back to the show. Here's me and there's Jake. Jake, what do you have to say?
Well, this is a special episode, ladies and gentlemen. We don't use the video, by the way, so no worries there.
To the audience, Ryan was flipping you off.
Yeah. Those of you who may have detected a third voice here, we got our first ever guest on the Film Tangents podcast.
That's right.
We got Ryan Sease in the house.
Hello.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Ryan. He's a great dude. He does a little. You do a little radio yourself, don't you?
Yes. I have a radio program on the greatest radio station in the continental United States, WSOE 89.3 FM. So wonderful sounds of Elon, the only alternative.
There you go. That's awesome. Yeah. So everyone, if you're passing through that area, check it out. Can they find you outside the area too, like on the internet?
You can do TuneIn Radio. That app, you can just look up WSOE.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when my show is going to be this coming up year, but probably going to be a Wednesday.
Okay.
In the evening, so I'll send details where they need to be sent once I get confirmation when they'll let me be back on the air.
Oh yeah.
No, I'd love to listen to it.
Yeah, man. We'll definitely we'll fire those deets off to our listeners, to our 180 million. But what kind of you play some bluegrass? What kind of stuff do you play on the radio?
Weird alternative country, bluegrass, sad womanly folk music.
Yeah, could you name some bands that you throw in there? Because I've been, as Jake knows, I've been dipping my toes in that musical area.
The Pink Stones is a big one. They rock. Molly Totem Golden Highway, Sierra Hole, Sierra Farrow. They're two different people.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, who else do I like? Mela Fleck, in terms of the weirder side of things. Hardcore.
No, you're good.
I'll
just keep it here.
Some weird hardcore punk rock shit I throw in there.
Yeah.
There. Throw people for a loop because it's fun. It confuses people. You have this very acoustic and a mellow, sad, bullshit, and then it comes like, and then that just kind of throws.
Yeah.
Barely bluegrass, where I would play one bluegrass song per hour, and then the rest of it would be like very heavy metal just to scare people.
Yeah.
But now I have a good source of like bluegrass music that I can get legally. Put on there, so
yeah, that's dope. Yeah, man. Yeah, but we got our first guest on here, ladies and gentlemen. We're actually at the beach right now. Our family's got a nice ass beach house here for the week, so we've just been coming off of I'm coming off of a 5-day bender here. At the beach and just feeling like absolute dog shit, but we're gonna rock and roll.
And the only downside of it being such a big house is that despite it being a big house, we've all had to sleep in the same bedroom and in the same bed.
Medieval times here. It's just hard.
We're gonna like spoon for warmth and shit.
I speak as if I was part of this beach house adventure.
Yeah, I want my fucking money back. Yeah.
All the other buildings, all the other rooms are just for storing grain.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But listening to a lot of reggae and shit.
You have?
As I do at the beach. It's been good, man. But I'll get into that on my recap.
A bit of the Dan here or there.
Yeah, a bit of Steely Dan, exactly. But Ryan, what I wanted to ask you, man, just kind of like, since this is the Film Tangent show, man, what are your favorite movies? Dude, I know them, but from Letterboxd.
Give us like, let's start with a top 10.
Okay, top 10. Back to the Future.
That's a lot, man.
I know. I thought, but this is the thing. I was like,
I can come up with 10 movies I really like.
Okay, good. Because in my head, I was like, am I asking for too much? I went from 5 to 10 because I was like, 10 is better than 5 because that gives us like a better range.
Do 10. Back to the Future, Evil Dead 2. Shit.
Yeah, we can take it down to 5.
That's one of my favorites.
Wait, what did you say?
Evil Dead 1 and 2.
Oh, Evil Dead 1 and 2. Okay.
Vampire's Kiss.
Oh, interesting. That's the one with that's the one with Nick Cage, right?
The Dark from '88. Shopping Mall.
Oh yeah.
At least like a couple of these I've not like ever heard about. Like I don't know if I've heard about Shopping Mall, but with Vampire's Kiss, that's a Nick Cage movie, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Color Out of Space. That's what I really like.
Okay.
Let's see. I try to think of something like a bit more. I like the shot.
I challenged you too much. I don't even know if I would have been able to answer top like 10 movies.
Oh, and Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's just throw that one in there. I love that movie.
Okay.
More than like it. So. Last Crusade as well. That's probably the best.
Yeah.
If I had to pick a top 2 ever, it's Back to the Future and Raider and Last Crusade. Those are my two favorite probably ever made.
I have, unfortunately, and Jake probably knows this, I've never seen the Back to the Future movies.
You haven't?
I've never seen them. Yeah.
Man, those are classics, man. I mean, I don't think I've seen the third one, but I've seen the first two.
The third one's, the first two are, the second one's okay. The first one's just one of the greatest scripts ever. It's so, like, perfect. It's all concise and stuff, it's just like it's what you want to have as a movie. It's just very much, it's a logic, all works together. Like if you really want to, you can poke holes in it. But it's really just
Let me ask you fellas something that you may or may not have the answer to. All right, does Back to the Future 2 have the 2 as the 2? Am I making sense? Like
no, it doesn't.
Okay.
Part 2.
Okay. I was like, did it proceed too fast, too furious in its originality of the number 2?
Yeah. No, it doesn't do that. No, okay. One that you mentioned, Ryan, piques my interest. You said Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4. That surprised me, man, because a lot of people. I said 4.
I'm trying to remember. 4 I like because it throws away all the greatness that was set up in the first 3.
Yeah.
Where it really started to take a turn for the worse, and it's an esoteric pick, really.
Yeah.
If I had to pick a favorite, my favorite's 3, followed by 2, then 1. So those are of abject quality.
Yeah.
Of the Nightmare films, it's 3, 2, 1. That's how they are ranked.
Yeah.
So 2 is really great because there's all the gay subtext, and it's like.
Yeah, his PE coach sees him out at a bar, and
he's at a gay bar, and then Freddy's fucking evil and shit, and chains him up in the shower, starts whipping him.
Starts whipping him doesn't he whip him with a towel?
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
It's great.
I don't know if I've seen the second one, because I know I've seen the first one, and I know that we saw the third one. And I've seen the fourth one, but I don't know if I've seen the second one.
I watched them all in the span of 2 weeks.
Really? You know the only horror series that I've done that with is the Friday the 13th movies.
13, they suck even harder.
Yeah, they suck harder than those.
The first one sucks. The first one's terrible.
Yeah.
It's just a ripoff of Halloween. It's not even a good one.
Yeah.
I mean, the best of those movies is the fourth one. For real. Part 4, because they got what's his name? The child actor boy is in that one. Tom Savini came back to do the effects for the fourth one. It's really good.
Yeah. Yeah,
Corey Feldman.
I agree with you, man.
Yeah, that's his name, Corey Feldman.
I agree with you on the first night, or the first Friday the 13th, because I saw the first. I've only seen 1 and 2. I've seen Freddy versus Jason.
That movie sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan, you get enjoyment out of bad movies.
Oh, I love horrible movies. It's on my.
It's really.
To it that you can't get from a well-made film.
That's fascinating.
Because Freddy vs. Jason, that movie's amazing because that movie has a rave that takes place in a cornfield, which is the most nonsense bullshit ever. While also the laws of physics don't exist when they start fighting, so they just go all over the place.
Yeah, and it's weird because there's a scene too where Freddy sticks his she's having a dream and he sticks his finger knives up her nose.
Oh yeah.
And like rips it off, but then she wakes up and she's fine. And it's like, did they forget that you actually get hurt by Freddy in your dreams?
Yeah.
But that movie sucks. I don't like it. My favorite bad movie of recent times though is a film called Money Plane.
I've not heard of that.
Oh, is that the one with Edge that's on your letterbox?
Yes, I love Money.
Really? With Edge did that movie?
Frasier, he's in that. He's the villain. He has this line. Let me get the voice. There is a legend in the underworld. It's called a money plane. Anything you want to wager on, the money plane's got you covered. You want to bet on a dude fucking an alligator? Money plane. There's a line in that movie spoken within the first 10 minutes, and it's great.
Wow.
I've seen it probably 6 times. It's
wow. You know what the funny thing is that we knew like a group of folks that we were friends with that always a lot of what they did was like watch really bad movies, and Jake, you remember this because like a lot of the time I just ask myself like, why would you do that? Like, why would you like if there's like an unlimited amount of good movies that we don't even have enough time to watch, why would you watch a bad one? You know, but what is it that you find in them? Is it just like the funny that you can find in like these bad movies?
There's an element of humor that like the greatest movie writers could never write.
Yeah,
it's just of your idiocy.
Yeah.
And like, being far too self-confident in what you're doing, like you think, oh, this is hot shit. I'm the greatest.
Yeah.
When in reality, it's a piece of shit. But you are so like blinded by your own hubris that you create this masterpiece of dog shit.
Yeah.
It's so funny that like if have either of y'all seen The Room?
No, I was gonna name drop that. I was like we've seen like the remake, like the James Franco thing that he did, but we've not seen the original movie.
The funniest movie I've ever seen. But the thing is, like, when Tommy Wiseau realized he was funny and he tried to be funny, it fucking sucks. Like it sucks not in the fun way I like things that suck, but like it's just painful. It's just like gross. It's like, ew, this isn't funny at all. This is just terrible.
So like when he got confidence is when he stopped actually being funny to you?
No. The thing is, he always had confidence. That was
he did, but he was like misplaced.
He was a fucking idiot. He was like this weird ass Eastern European dude. He was like, I'm going to be a Hollywood famous movie actor.
Yeah.
Here's my hot wife and other things. So it's like, and he sounds like this, and he looks like a vampire.
Yeah.
But he makes this movie where he's like the heartthrob character. It's hilarious. He wrote the whole thing. He said he can't change any of my lines because they're perfect. But he has lines like, "You're just a little chicken." Just like, it's in the movie. It's like, it's amazing. Just like, oh, hi Mark, what's new with you? Anyway, how's your sex life? It's just like, he comes at it's such a avant-garde way of doing it, just removed from the whole typical. It's something unique, and it's just hilarious that someone can even make something like that. It's just like, wow, that's why I like these bad movies, because The Room's the perfect example. You can just point to it and it's funny because it's like so brazenly like terrible. Like you read about, like he bought cameras to make a movie. No one buys cameras. Studios
he bought them, yeah.
Right.
He bought both a film and a digital camera because he didn't know the difference.
Yeah.
A custom rig made up so he could shoot them with both cameras.
Yeah.
So technically, he shot that movie in 3D because. And there's like 3 sex scenes in the movie. They're all like 3 minutes long. And there's like 3 or 4, and they're all 3 minutes long because he bought the rights to use these songs. He's like, I'm going to use the whole fucking song because I can't pay for the rights for them.
Yeah.
So it's like stupidly long, uncomfortable sex. And the first and second are made up of the same shots because the girl wouldn't agree to do a second one because he's such a creep. So he's
really? Wow.
That's nuts, man.
Yeah.
Disaster Artist was good, man. They showed like the making of that and everything.
Yeah. You know what the thing is, that anytime that I think about that movie, the thing that I associate that movie with in my head is that when they went up to like accept the Oscar for like best like adapted screenplay or whatever, that James Franco didn't let him speak. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't let Tommy Wiseau speak?
No, he brought him up with him
say some fucking weird shit.
Yeah, because he brought him up with him, and then when Tommy was grabbing the microphone, he like silenced him. Yeah. Oh no, I was saying that yeah, he brought him up with him. Like I was like, I remember watching that and being like, oh my god, he brought this crazy guy up with him, you know. But when Tommy was like about to grab the phone, he just went like, no. He's like,
oh shit!
It was really awkward.
I can watch that, man. I forgot about that. That's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Poor James Franco died a horrible death.
Yeah, but I felt bad for Tommy Wiseau because it felt like almost like that was like a culmination of all the shame and acceptance. That Oscar moment, and then James Franco was like, "No, sir, it's not happening."
That's so funny, man. Yeah. That was a good movie, man. Disaster Artist, I love that. Yeah. I will say I agree with you, Ryan, in a sense. I don't seek out bad movies as much as you do, but I will say, like, recently I was watching clips from X-Men Origins Wolverine, and like I was by myself. Which is like a really sad endeavor, like just being alone.
X-Men Origins on your lonesome.
Yeah.
It's a tough position to be in.
Yeah, but I'm sitting there, dude, and I'm like laughing to myself, and I'm having a great fucking time.
Really?
Like, it's actually, because when I was a kid, man, watching that movie, I remember as a kid not thinking that movie was bad. Like, I was like 11 when X-Men Origins Wolverine came out.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, now as someone in their mid 20s who has like been around the block with movies and has seen a lot of movies and honest, to be quite frank, just has like a basic sense of logic. Like watching that movie, watching just any scene from that movie
falls apart.
Dude, it's mind-boggling the plot holes in that movie. Like they're just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Or like not even big plot holes, but just small like gaps in logic and stuff. Like they abound in that movie.
I told you that was a movie that woke me up to being like, oh, movies can be bad, you know.
Yeah.
Up until X-Men Wolverine Origins, like up until that movie, I had just been like walking around life as a little kid being like, oh yeah, every movie's good, you know, just watch a movie and you enjoy it, you know, except for Chicken Little. I knew that movie was bad, you know, but other than Chicken Little, everything was good. And when I saw X-Men Wolverine Origins, you know, and I love the Wolverine character, I've always loved that character my whole life. When I saw that movie, you know, and I think I was like 10 or 11, I was like, oh, now I know what disappointment feels like when you like in movie form, because that movie was disappointing.
Yeah, that's so funny. I don't know, maybe you were a smarter kid than I was, because I was like, oh, I thought it was pretty good.
I was hyped, dude. I was hyped for that movie.
I wasn't that hyped. I didn't care that much about the X-Men as a kid. Like, I liked the movies, but I really didn't find I didn't care. Like, I wasn't like a fan. I just watched them kind of when, like, my dad would, because that was back like when the X-Men was basically the MCU of that time.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
X-Men was the MCU of the 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
But like, like I'm watching this scene from X-Men Origins Wolverine, just to give you an example, and they've just given Wolverine the adamantium skeleton or what. And he's laying there, and he's like, you know, they have not given him any anesthetic or anything, or restrained him in any way. Which I think there's a line where where they're like, oh, anesthetic won't work on him or whatever. Fine, that's fine. I get it.
You know that was ADR. You know that they did that post.
Yeah, because they figured out the bullshit in their logic. Yeah, but I'm sitting there, they have like no way to restrain him or anything, and then this guy Stryker is just like, all right, erase his memory, and it's like, And then Wolverine starts getting angry, and the assassin, the guy with the guns, is like, I think he heard you. And then he breaks out and gets fucking pissed. And it's just like, what did you think was going to happen, dude? Don't you know this? Don't you know that he has, like, super Wolverine ears? He can hear you through the glass. Shouldn't you have, like, had something in place to restrain him so he couldn't do anything?
You know.
Wipe his memory. How? He's just laying in a tank, fully conscious.
Yeah.
Like, what? And then they start shooting at him.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's too late now. You just turned him into the ultimate fucking weapon.
You did, yeah. Weapon X. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like chasing him around in a helicopter, which that's another thing in that movie. Roger Ebert said that at the time when the movie came out. He was like, what's the point in this? This guy can't die.
Right.
What's the point? And he did these scenes where they're chasing him around, like shooting at him and stuff.
It's like, kill him. He's Wolverine. Like, you can't stop him.
Yeah. So stupid.
Yeah. But you know.
The Wolverine, too. The Wolverine isn't as bad.
Yeah, no, that's what I was about to say to you. That's what I was about to say, because it's like, you have the first Wolverine solo movie, and it's like, okay, that was dog shit, and it's like, okay, we've all kind of acknowledged that over the years, but then you are like you were implying, then you arrive at the Wolverine, which was, I believe that was like the first like James Mangold outing with that character, and again, I was hyped.
Yeah,
I was super hyped for that movie. I was like, oh my god, it's happening again. It's happening again.
Disappointment keeps hitting me.
Yeah, exactly, dude. I was so hyped. I went to the movie theater to see the Wolverine. I saw that in theaters, and I remember that, like, at least like the first half hour of that movie, I was like, oh, this is everything that I wanted it to be. And then the next hour and a half, it was just me slowly, like, decreasing in my seat of being like, what is this? Let me ask you guys this question, okay?
Yeah.
Has any of the Wolverine movies, so basically Origins, The Wolverine, and what, not Nolan, Roland, Logan.
Like, I'm a big Wolverine fan. I just don't know his name.
Yeah. It's like, have any of those movies lived up to your expectations? Like, or at the very least, give me your ranking. Like, Ryan, give me your Wolverine ranking.
I haven't seen any of them except Logan.
Really?
Oh,
Okay.
so you've seen the good one.
Yeah.
Oh, you haven't. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So obviously, what do you think of Logan?
That was good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Logan lived up to my expectations. I had no
I like
expectations.
slow, boring movies, so that's just.
Well, yeah, Logan's like a good slow burn, and they have action where it's needed. And the reason Logan works, which, it's like, I can't believe it took them 3 movies to figure this out, but the reason Logan works is because he can actually die in that movie.
Right.
I will say that one of my problems with Logan is I think he's actually they overcorrected in that movie, because I actually think he's too weak in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's like points in that movie where I'm like, all right, like, it's, because they give us like a little taste at the end, and it's like this triumphant thing where he shoots up the like X-Men steroid shit or whatever, and like running through the woods, and he's badass Wolverine again, but it wears off in like 2 minutes, and you're just like, fuck, and now he's back to weak ass, Logan again, old man Logan or whatever.
Weak ass Logan.
Yeah. So I think the filmmakers they did a great job. Like, Logan, I think, is a great movie, but they overcorrected, I think, where they made him too weak in that movie. I would have liked a little more shit kicking Wolverine in that movie, but overall, that movie did.
Yeah.
Well, what about you, Edward?
Well, that's what I was. Obviously Logan is a good one. And I remember. No, we didn't see that movie together. I remember that. I actually remember I saw that movie on my own. Because I think it came out during the summer, and I guess I just watched it. Yeah, because I took my cousin. Yeah, it came out during the summer of that year. So this is the thing with me and Wolverine. I think the movie is just good, and you know that because at the time, like, the rating never changed. I've seen the movie like 2 or 3 times, and I always just gave it a 7. because I was like, this is just a good movie, you know. Because in my head, I was always like, I always felt like I never got the Wolverine movie that I always wanted. And then by the point that they made an actually like good one, I didn't want that one, you know. I didn't want the Old Man Logan movie. I didn't want the Logan's gonna die. Spoilers for Logan. And now he has a daughter, and his daughter is gonna be the next Logan. Like to me, it was just like, well, you never gave me the movie that I wanted. You know, you never gave me the movie. You just gave me two shitty movies, and then you gave me a good one. And now the character is supposed to be over just because he was on all of those shitty X-Men movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying. It's like Logan's like the send off, but everything leading up to the send off was crap.
Everything was crap, exactly. So it doesn't feel like it lived up to anything. It was like
only one good one.
Yeah, exactly.
It was literally.
I'm assuming what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, it was literally like a little gold nugget inside all this crap, and it's like, well, there's a mountain of crap here.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing, like, I just remember, too, the Wolverine, like, when I was probably 15, 16 when I first saw that, because that came out in 2013, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been the right, about that age. I just remember watching that movie, and I just remember the scene where he's fighting the, like, samurai dudes in the chateau or whatever.
Yeah.
The little Mr. Miyagi garden.
Yeah.
And I'm just watching it like there's no tension here. Like these guys are swinging swords at him. These swords can't even, first of all, they cut any part of his body, any skin, any organ, it just heals. And the metal of the swords isn't actually strong enough to even cut through his bone or anything. So they can even, like, you know, behead him or anything like that.
Oh, yeah, even if they, like, what was it? There's this one comic where, like, Wolverine, he gets incinerated to nothing with a single red blood cell, but he can still regenerate from that.
Yeah.
It's just like...
Yeah. And they established in X-Men Origins Wolverine, because there's that scene at the end where the, you know, quote-unquote Deadpool, the freakish, you know, excuse for Deadpool.
Yeah. Ryan Reynolds, like...
Yeah, it's funny that Ryan Reynolds has played 2 iterations of the character.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he's like, you know, he almost beheads Logan. And that made sense because he had the adamantium that was strong enough to cut through the adamantium skeleton. But there was nothing... I don't remember how the fight at the end of the Wolverine... if there was any tension in that fight, but
it was a strange fight because I remember in that fight the thing is that he was like weakened, and by the end of that movie he he has the like bone claws again.
Yeah.
Because they like extracted like his adamantium, so they weakened him. And they put all of it on that old guy on that samurai suit. So the idea was that it was like, oh, he's like much more vulnerable now. But like again, there was no tension because it's like they always named the Wolverine. You know, it's like where you're gonna kill him at the end of the movie. You know, so it's like I feel like the issue that they've had with these movies, and I say this including Logan because I guess Logan just fixed it because they actually made him like beatable, but I feel like the issue that they had with these films is just like maybe you should create like tension, you know, and like a plot drive outside of killing the guy. You know, let's just go with the idea that the guy is not going to get killed because that's already part of the assumption. When you go to see Spider-Man, you're like, oh my god, I hope Spider-Man doesn't die on this one. The 20th iteration of the Spider-Man movies. Oh, he didn't die. He didn't die on this one. I'm so glad. You know, ever since Toby almost died in the first one, I've had it in my heart that Spider-Man could go any movie now. So it's like maybe let's remove that as the main driving tension of the film and let's create something for the character. You know, or something else, other stakes in the movie other than the guy might die, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they did a good job with that, like in The Dark Knight, where, you know, it's like the Joker even tells Batman, it's like, I don't want to kill you, you know, you're like way too much fun, you know.
Exactly.
It's like there's other things at stake.
Exactly.
And I think, I am not on the train. Like, I remember talking to certain people about Better Call Saul, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
and people saying, like, oh, well, there was no tension in this scene because I know that Saul lives in the Breaking Bad.
Right, but we don't know.
And it's like,
Yeah.
I'm not on that train because
Right.
I think you can still logically know that a character's not going to die,
Right.
but you can still feel, like, worried for them.
Right. Exactly.
Because, like, you're watching Breaking Bad, it's like you're in the middle of that series. Walt's in a life or death situation. You know he's not going to die. He's the main character of the show.
Right.
But you can suspend – a situation can be anxiety-inducing enough to where you're, like, suspending that disbelief.
Right.
But, yeah, tension. Very important.
Yeah, and I feel like it just took them so long to make that leap with those superhero movies. But even now, we're at a place where we are at a post Robert Downey Jr. superhero movie, like Marvel shit, because all those Marvel movies suck now.
Yeah.
Like every single one of them.
It was just, I was sick of it.
Yeah.
Before anyone else was, really.
Yeah.
I was too, honestly.
I hate that I can't say, like, it's become just, like, synonymous with the word movie. Like, you say, oh, I'm into movies. Like, oh, which Marvel movie is your favorite? Like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I'm interested in fucking things.
Yeah.
Where I can see someone's guts when they're cut open. It's not have to be cut down to a PG-13 rating at the highest.
Yeah. Exactly.
I like watching weird, depraved movies where it's like horrible. Like, people be concerned for my mental state if I watch them. Just like...
That's how I feel when I talk about the fact that Funny Games is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
I feel like definitely kind of like.
One of my favorite movies is Under the Skin. That movie's fucking horrifying, just like in concept alone.
Oh, that's Cronenberg, right?
No. There's a movie I really like by Cronenberg. That's Videodrome. That shit rocks.
Oh yeah, we've seen that movie on the show. Jake didn't like Videodrome.
Fucking love Videodrome.
Wait, what's Under the Skin though?
It's Jonathan Glazer with Scarlett Johansson.
Oh,
it was A24. It came out 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's that movie where she's like an alien.
No. It's like set in Scotland. You can't understand anyone because the Scottish accents are so thick.
Oh yeah.
Scarlett Johansson's like an alien and shit.
Yeah.
All, like really weird cryptic metaphors about toxic masculinity and shit, and it's like weird and rapey and like fucking horrifying. Like it's not a fun movie to watch. I fucking love it though.
Yeah.
Because it's just so slow and like there's like you could fit all the dialogue in the film on like a page. It's just like sad and fucking creepy the whole time.
I feel like I know what else has that director done?
Let's see.
He's only done like kind of like more kind of unsettling. I think he has a movie called like Beautiful Beast or like Sexy Beast or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Sexy Beast is one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen any of that guy's movies.
No, I've only seen Under the Skin. That's the only one I've seen.
Under the Skin's great. I love that movie.
I didn't vibe with it too much. Like I appreciated it like visually and I understood like what it was doing, but I didn't super vibe with the movie. I liked how it ended, for sure. But I thought that it's one of those movies that Jake, if you watch it, I don't know if you'd agree with what I'm saying, but it's one of those movies that I thought could have been like shorter. Because like Ryan said, like there's not a lot of dialogue. A lot of things are just implied and happen. But I kind of found myself when I watched it. Kind of being like, okay, let's get it to the finish line.
Yeah. Yeah, that's never good, man. When you want the movie to be over.
When you want the movie to end.
Yeah. Ryan, what are some movies that you've been like dying to see or like meaning to see? Like it can either be something that's coming out soon or a movie that's out or just something on your watch list.
Evil Dead Rise. I've been meaning to see that forever.
Oh yeah.
Solid.
That
was solid.
Some older Star Trek movies. I want to see that.
Yeah.
Some weird silent movies I want to see.
You ever seen Wrath of Khan, Star Trek?
I love Wrath of Khan, yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking
Star Trek
awesome.
the motion picture is great. That's what I... But just off topic there for a second. Star Trek the motion picture is one of my favorite movies ever because it's perfectly what I mean by stupid, boring sci-fi movie where nothing happens. It's perfect. It's perfect. It's all just really good writing for nothing but 2 hours. Or like they shoot their guns once in the whole movie.
Really?
That is also the kind of movie I like for sure.
They fire the phasers once to like get rid of an asteroid, and then that's it.
Yeah.
And the whole rest of it's just like Shatnering it up, but like it's good Shatner, so it's like really interesting.
Yeah. Is that what's the plot of that one? I don't know.
What it is, it's like the Enterprise has been refit. It's the original Enterprise from the original series, but it's been refit, and there's a new captain, this guy called Decker, and they call back Kirk who's an admiral now. They call him back to do one more mission to check on this massive living computer that's encroaching on the Earth system. It has been absorbing all the life in front of it and like sucking it in and like killing stuff. So
shit, that's kind of similar to the Borg.
They're sending him up, right? And they go up, and it's he's with this girl Aaliyah, who's like Decker's like girlfriend or whatever. And Decker's like real pissed off because he was supposed to command the mission, but then Kirk comes and he's just like, "Stop competing with me, Decker."
So Kirk's just cucking the whole movie.
Yeah, and then like Spock shows up, and he was just about to go through like the final ceremony to become fully Vulcan. He was about to give up all his emotions permanently, so he could be a full Vulcan.
Oh shit!
But then like he shows off, he had to miss it because he had to go on this mission. He's like real fucking pissed off. Everybody's being a total asshole. It's just like, and then like there's this great scene where it's like Kirk, Bones, and Spock just sitting there, just like. Just talk to me, Spock, please. And it's like really good, and it's like, man, that's awesome. And then Spock gets over it. He's like chill again, and then like he goes to, they make it to the computer, and like Spock's like, I sense life from it. It's not just a computer. So he goes out in like a little spacesuit to mind meld with, and he goes fucking insane. Just like, and he's like, yeah, and then it's like it's revealed. I don't want to tell you, but yeah, it's cool.
The big twist.
Yeah, it's really cool. Huh. They figure it out. They go home, and it was a pretty sweet time. But it's a great movie.
Okay.
It's shot really well too. It's really
interesting.
It's something.
Yeah, I know my dad like is a big Star Trek fan, and he doesn't care. He likes Wrath of Khan quite a bit. I know he was the one who got me into Star Trek as a kid, which I'm like mildly into Star Trek. I wouldn't describe myself as like a Trekkie or anything, but Wrath of Khan rocked, but I never saw that first one.
Yeah, well, but back to movies. I want to see From Beyond. That's like,
oh yeah, that's on my watch list. Yeah. Stuart Gordon, right?
Have you seen Reanimator?
No, that's on my watch list.
It's everyone who did Reanimator. Just literally all the same people. They just did that movie as well. It's great. I want to see. Reanimator is one of my favorites. I love that.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of weird old Winona Ryder movies I have to see just because I like Winona Ryder.
Winona Ryder?
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because I'm actually, which I'll get into this more during our recap session. We do like a section where we recap everything we've been watching over the past few weeks or listening to or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll definitely give you the mic on that part as well. But I've been binging Stranger Things, which of course Winona Ryder's one of the main characters in that, and she's awesome in that.
I need to close out my Kubrick films. I haven't seen. Need to watch all those.
You know what the thing is?
Need to see Lolita, Eyes Wide Shut, and 2001. Those are the ones I need to see still.
So you need to see those still. Okay. Yeah, because you know what the funny thing with me is that Kubrick is one of those filmmakers that I always feel like that. I'm always like, Well, say that again.
I haven't seen Strangelove either. I need to see Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I need to see Doctor Strangelove. I need to see like Spartacus, like a bunch of his movies I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen Spartacus. I've seen Doctor Strangelove. Doctor Strangelove rocks.
Have you seen Full Metal Jacket?
I love Full Metal Jacket.
I have not seen Full Metal Jacket.
So you're big missing out.
That wasn't your top 10.
Yeah, yes, I love Full Metal Jacket. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, it is.
Have you all seen Barry Lyndon?
Nope, it's on my watch list.
Barry Lyndon.
I need to see it. Wait, what did you say about Barry Lyndon?
Barry Lyndon is 3 hours long, and nothing happens. It's the greatest movie ever.
Really?
it's written like someone from the 18th century would write a movie. So it's very just like,
oh man,
it's great.
Oh, that sounds great. That sounds like such like a Kubrick thing. Like, oh yeah.
Slow. It's fucking boring. It's amazing.
Yeah.
The very awesome thing about it is like it was shot with all natural lighting, so there's no like set lights. It's all candles or sunlight.
Shit.
He had to buy these like super like made lenses so you could capture that amount of light for like the interior scenes. They're all done by candlelight. It's insane. It looks amazing.
Oh wow!
Watched like the Criterion release with my friends a few months ago on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, that movie looks awesome.
That's what's that called in filmmaking, Edward? Where you only use like the natural lighting and shit. Isn't that like a filmmaking philosophy or something?
No, because technically it's just called what you just said, but in a way, right? You could say that it like falls like in like dogmatic things, because like dogma movies only use natural lighting.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of.
Yeah.
But that's not the only aspect of dogma, right? But it's like one aspect.
Yeah, it's like a really predominant aspect, because that's why all those movies look like shit.
Yeah, Doctor Strangelove rocks. It was definitely Doctor Strangelove. Like a lot of people have compared Shin Godzilla to Doctor Strangelove. It's really similar, like just a lot of ineffective.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of gambling with people's lives or whatever.
Which to me,
our buddy Jeff from UNCSA, shout out Jeff Yabro.
Hey, shouts out, great man.
Awesome dude, but he actually shared with me some interesting trivia about Doctor Strangelove, because even though that movie's in black and white, Kubrick specifically had the big boardroom table that they all sit around be the color of a poker table. So like green, like a dark green kind of color, or I guess poker table's kind of like light green. I should know. I was like playing poker all 4th of July weekend, but he wanted to do that because he wanted it to feel like the actors to feel like they were gambling with people's lives. I thought that was
that's fascinating.
Yeah, I thought that was like some really cool trivia that Jeff shared.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. It's interesting that go ahead.
I was just saying you were about to say something.
Oh yeah, I was going to say that it's interesting to me that you say that, because I've heard those comparisons, and to me it's fascinating too, because like I associate like Anno as a filmmaker with stuff like that, with just kind of like Kubrickian shit, but Anno is like more mischievous. It's like really silly. He's a really silly man. He's like a silly Kubrick to me, because he obviously he does a lot of like silly things, like using GoPros and shit like that. Like Shin Godzilla's full of like random footage. Whereas I always think about Kubrick as like such like a, like film, like, fucking down to the ground. We're gonna put this shit on a tripod or on a fucking Steadicam, like kind of filmmaker.
That's true. Have you seen Shin Godzilla?
No, I haven't.
You gotta watch that, man.
Great.
The best Godzilla movie I've seen is Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla.
Oh yeah, that one rocks.
Like
man.
late 70s. That one's killer.
Yeah, I believe it's like 74 or something like that.
Yeah, that one's. That's the only one of like the true Japanese ones I've seen.
Oh really?
Me and my friends just stumbled upon that one afternoon. We were like, "This rocks."
Oh yeah.
And then like later that month, we went and saw the new one, like Kong vs. Godzilla. We're just like,
and it's got Mechagodzilla.
Yeah, we were freaking the fuck out. Like, holy shit, Mechagodzilla! Fun.
Yeah, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. That one's wild. That's probably the one I rewatched the most as a kid. I've seen all of the.
It's
Godzilla
the only
movies.
one with. It's the only Godzilla film with nudity. Fun fact.
Is it really?
Yeah. Surgery on like the robot girl, and she's got like paper mache tits. Just.
Oh yeah, I think that's Terror of Mechagodzilla.
Is it? Oh yeah, the Terror of Mechagodzilla.
Jake would
That's
know.
one.
Yeah.
I love that one. Yes.
Yeah, that's the one with the Titanosaurus.
Yeah, and they got like the 70s aliens. They're like, that, like are just these Japanese dudes wearing like rocking turtlenecks, but they're like, aliens for whatever reason.
Yeah, they have like the little helmets with like the antenna on it.
Yeah, but they're like wearing like brown business suits and turtlenecks still. So it's just like
Yeah, the filmmakers were just like, fuck it, they're aliens. The audience knows.
Yeah, I remember the girl says, "What is your purpose? Vengeance and hatred."
Yeah.
I love that movie. Passion.
Yeah, I probably saw all the Godzilla movies by the time I was like 10 or 11 or something. Like, I did not get many girls in elementary school. I had plenty of time on my hands. I was not popular with the ladies in elementary school.
Who was?
Yeah, that's true.
Elementary school is the time.
Yeah, right. I just was making a jab at myself. The point is, I was a giant dweeb in elementary school.
Yeah.
Still am, but still am a nerd at heart. But
I think on
dweebs in elementary school.
I think on my end, I've finished my Godzilla journey.
You like kicked and screamed through a lot of Godzilla films. Because he was trying to get into them, but they're a lot of them are bad.
It's an acquired taste. Well, if you like those Godzilla movies, I think you'll get why I like such shit movies as I do. It's a similar kind of vibe, just like the cheap kind of.
Yeah.
Like I love old 80s B movies. Like,
oh yeah.
Shopping Mall, just to bring that up again, is the greatest movie ever made, simply because its premise is so lazy, and it was just I can't remember who directed it, but he was mostly what he was known for directing previous was shitty softcore porn films. Make a horror movie. He's like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, there you go.
So like the premise is it's classic horror movie premise. 6-8 teenagers or something, they're like, let's spend the night in my dad's furniture store so we can have sex in the mall after it closes.
It's pretty unique.
I'm like, okay.
It is pretty unique.
It's not a bad idea.
Then like
if you're a teenager.
There's these new in this mall, there's these new what you call them, security robots. They look like Daleks, kind of, a little bit.
What the hell?
But like they're there, and they're supposed to like get rid of criminals or whatever. But the night that these kids stay in the mall, the mall gets struck by lightning.
Oh, of course.
And the robots are evil now, so now they don't recognize the ID tags that they stole, so they just shoot people with lasers.
Wow.
It's called Shopping Mall. It's fucking bullshit because there's no shopping in the movie. It's all lasers and shit.
They just needed like a clever title.
Yeah.
It's so because the whole time I'm picturing I've heard of this movie Shopping Mall, but for some reason I always pictured it as like a slasher where.
I was hoping that's
with
what
like
it would
a
be.
Basic slasher.
Well, with the posters,
like I thought where it was, I thought where it was going was the kids spend the night in the shopping mall in the chopping mall.
Yeah.
Like Michael Myers, Jason 2.0. Like,
well, that's what you think from the poster because the poster's like a red shopping bag. Those paper shopping bags, like a red. It's like dripping blood, and it's got a knife going through it, and like some arms and legs hanging out of the bag. So it's
I've seen it.
So that's what
I've seen that.
That's what
that
you
poster.
think. You think, oh, this is gonna be about. No, it's about robots and shit.
Wow.
Fun fact about this movie: at the start of the movie, the kid that plays Joey in Nightmare on Elm Street 3 can be seen shoplifting records in one of the as an extra in one of the shots. So you're like, that's. My friend watching, we're like, what the fuck? That's Joey from Nightmare 3. What the hell? Such classic lines from this. So I may be misquoting this, but this guy, he's like with his girlfriend in the furniture store. He's like, your boobs remind me of pepperonis. She's like, what the fuck? Okay, cool. So then,
he thinks it's a compliment.
Yeah. So and then. She eventually goes out to buy cigarettes, and her head gets blown off by a robot, and they replay it like 3 times because it's so cool. It's a good head explosion, and then it's so good that they just when they're crediting everyone in the credits, that's the scene they play for her to credit her actress.
Of course,
it's it's a pretty good movie. I like Shopping Mall. I've seen it more times than any rational person should see the movie Shopping Mall, but.
Yeah, that's any of your favorite films. I feel like I've, all my favorite movies, besides like Clerks, because that one's like a new addition to my favorite movies of all time. I had to like, I mean, it's in my top 5 for sure, but a lot of the other ones, like Funny Games, I've seen like way too many times for any, rational person to have seen. Chopping Mall. That's crazy, man. Which one's Joey in Nightmare on Elm Street 3? Is he the one that like Freddy takes his veins out?
No. He's like he's the mute kid. He's the one that like in 4 dies in the waterbed where he's drowned inside the waterbed.
I gotcha.
He's like when Freddy's like the hot nurse in 3.
Yeah, because he comes out of 3 alive.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he has like a Freddy. Yeah, he's like the hot nurse, and then he
he's like
ties him to the bed. That was weird, because then it was like he just becomes trapped in Freddy's lair, and it was just like, why is Freddy keeping this kid alive?
Plot.
And then his like bones come to life in the real world or whatever.
I think the way Freddy comes back to life in 4 just shows how much of a little of a shit they gave him. Because a dog shows up to like where they bury them in the junkyard, and they like pisses fire on the grave, and he comes back to life.
Oh, that's right. I've seen clips from that because I've only seen 1, 2, and 3.
That's all you need to see, really. They stop being legitimately good after that. They only have laugh at them fun after that.
Yeah, they're like Looney Tunes after that, basically.
I mean, the greatest thing ever is that in 6, I think, Freddy looks dead at the camera. He's like, "It's traveling time," and then he disintegrates to ash and flies away.
That's fucking hilarious.
He's like, "It's traveling time."
It's the
greatest thing I've ever seen.
What's funny?
Clips from 6 where like he's like impersonating the witch from Wizard of Oz or whatever. And
I'll get you by bringing your little soul too.
Yeah. There's a part where he's like driving the bus and he like hits the kid. It's like full on Wile E. Coyote.
Have you seen Wes Craven's New Nightmare?
No, I've seen parts of it.
It's fucking weird. Like it's like proto Scream almost. Like where he was playing with like the horror movie conventions before. Like he really went all the way with Scream. It's just like that's neat.
What were you gonna say, Edward?
I was gonna say that with you guys saying that, it makes it feel like the interpretation of that character that appears like in Rick and Morty might be more true to like how long that character lived than the first few movies.
Oh yeah, dude, Scary Terry in Rick and Morty, he's a full-on parody pretty much of the later Freddy movies.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with that episode?
Yeah. Because like OG Freddy was actually scary as shit. Like,
dude, the first movie barely show him.
He doesn't talk hardly. Like he
has like 3 lines,
and they're all classic. Like, I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy. It's just like, shit, that's badass.
Yeah.
Or like when he kills what's your name? Like she's like on the ceiling flying around like you're getting slit open. It's like fucking awesome.
He doesn't say a word.
Yeah, it's just cold. Or like when he first shows up, he's just like scraping his like knives on. It's like there is no God.
Oh jeez.
It's like,
I was so taken aback by that when I first saw it on Elm Street.
Because it's become a cultural like icon before, and then you watch it, you're like, this is gonna be fucking silly, but then it's like serious. You're like, what the fuck? It's actually scary.
And there's like parts where they could have had a one-liner in there, but he just chooses to say nothing. Like when she goes, I love the part where Nancy, she's in the boiler room. It's like when she falls asleep in class. And she's like, "Who are you?" And Freddy's answer, his version of an answer, is to pull up his shirt, slice open his own chest.
Yeah.
Like, we're out.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then he just drops his shirt back down and giggles. It's like, okay.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think two carries that on a bit because like he gets funny in 3. 3's where like it really gets funny because that's like with like, "This is it, Jennifer, your big break on TV. Welcome to the prime time, bitch."
Yeah. usage of the word bitch.
Yeah,
That's true.
Yeah.
But like 2 was still like pretty sick. Like when he comes into the real world, like briefly, and like he's like at the pool party, it's like, you are all my children. That's like fires going everywhere. It's like awesome. That's the cool.
Dude,
2 is great because he looks like an actual burn victim in 2. Like it's like
the make 2 is not. I don't think 2 is a very good movie, but 2 his makeup is the best in 2. And any Nightmare fan, most Nightmare fans agree on that too. But I even like before I knew what the consensus was, like
you just gotta look at it. It's just like it's beautiful. Like it's a perfect continuation from the first one because like he got real fucked up in the first one. And it was like
because like the back of his like even like the back of his head, I just remember as a kid like looking at it, and it looks like just it looks burned.
It looks disgusting. It's like all scabbed and shit. It's like
and then his face, like he has like that witch kind of nose and shit. The look was perfect.
Have you guys seen the remake?
I didn't care for it.
I refuse to watch it.
Really?
I've seen parts of it. I've seen like scenes from it, like caught bits of it on TV. It's just it looks so stupid.
It's just boring and long. It's not that good.
Yeah, it seems. I don't need. It's like for me, I don't even need to watch it. I've seen enough of it to where I gather like that it's not a well-made movie or scary in the slightest. Have you seen that, Edward?
No, but I know that I remember that they put like Rooney Mara in that movie, and the guy who actually played Freddy was like an Academy Award like winner or nominated actor, because I know that he also like he's the guy who plays like he plays like that character in that movie, not Minuteman. Is it Minuteman? Like that superhero like thing. You know what I'm talking about? He plays a guy whose like face like shifts like things.
Oh, Watchmen.
Watchmen, yeah.
Yeah, he plays Rorschach.
Yeah, he plays Rorschach. Yeah, that same actor. They got him to play Freddy.
Right? Rorschach. Did I say that right?
Yeah, this movie's a piece of shit. This thing sucks.
Yeah, it is. I could just tell from the pieces I've seen of it. But yeah, go ahead, Edward.
But no, I was just surprised because like it seems like.
Oh yeah, did Michael Bay direct it? No, he produced it. I thought.
Still. Oh, it's his brother, Samuel Bay.
God.
Who directed that movie?
Samuel Bay.
Huh.
Michael Bay's brother.
Huh.
Michael Bay had a hand in all of those like slasher remakes of the 2000s, like the Texas Chainsaw one and the Friday the 13th one. He produced all of those.
The Texas Chainsaw one was alright. That was Rob Zombie, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, that was Halloween.
Oh, that's right.
Oh yeah, that's right. It was Halloween that Rob Zombie did.
I've never seen Rob Zombie's Halloween actually.
I hear it's good.
It doesn't. It seems I've seen clips from it, and it just feels. I don't know. I feel like Rob Zombie it didn't seem like he really.
He took away the wrong things from.
He made it into something it wasn't. Like it was just had a completely different feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because like Halloween, the original Halloween's like a very subtle, like chiller, whereas Rob Zombie is anything but subtle. Like he makes like carnage horror, Yeah,
because that's why I've stayed away from that movie. Because even like when I've seen clips of that movie, it looks like those movies that are like fried. You know what I'm saying? Like the aesthetic, it looks like orange, green. So I was
real ugly kind of 2000s, just very brown.
Yeah.
It's the Saw look.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's the Saw look. It's that look, and because of that exact same look, I've never seen that movie. I was like, I'm not interested.
Yeah. You know what? What? I have conflicted feelings on it. The Exorcist trailer came out for the Exorcist Believer.
They're making another one. Jesus Christ.
They're making. It's David Gordon Green, right?
Oh wow.
Pretty sure David Gordon Green. I gotta fact check myself on this just to make sure. Exorcist Believer. David Gordon Green. The trailer. They actually bring back the mom from the first movie, so it's one of those. It's like a soft reboot kind of thing, or like I guess this would be classified as like a a decades later sequel. I don't know what they call those, like a legacy
soft
sequel.
reboot. That's like what they call those.
Yeah, I guess soft reboot. Yeah, but it's like I don't know. It looks a little so like most of the trailer, I wasn't really fucking with it, and then the last like 10 seconds of the trailer, they do this really cool thing where they it just turns to black and white,
Mm-hmm.
and they have like bunch of clips kind of strewn together of the possessed girls, and then they like splice in some clips of like doctors looking at brain scans and stuff, and then there's like these really weird noises that the girls are making, and it's in black and white, and there's like this weird distortion going on, and it's hard to describe it, but it's like you'd have to see it, but it felt to me, it was like the part of the trailer that caught my eye where I was like, ooh, that feels really classic horror-esque. Like that actually was kind of creepy.
So you're willing to give Gordon Green a second chance?
Yeah, because I didn't, obviously like his Halloween movies. The first one was like I guess okay. Did you see those, Ryan?
No, I never did it. They didn't interest me.
I don't blame you.
It's so hard for me to find like good horror movies that are coming out these days. Like,
yeah,
I need to see *Malignant*. I hear that was great. I need to see.
Yeah, we saw that. We watched *Malignant*. Yeah.
I heard *Barbarian's* decent, so I need to see that. The only thing I've seen.
We saw that in theaters.
The only thing I've seen in like the last 2 years, I saw *The Black Phone* in theaters. I thought that was great.
That was good.
It's the best modern horror movie I've seen in theaters in a while. So I was like, that was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I like what they're doing these days with horror movies, though, because they're solving the cell phone problem. They're just making them all period pieces. So it's like,
oh, yeah.
They're like, fuck, how do we get around this whole cell phone shit? Put in the 70s. There you go. Problem solved.
Yeah, where people can just call. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they are. Yeah. Yeah, it is hard to find. There was something else you just said that I was going to comment on. This is why we call it film tim. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because if you go back, you look back on all the decades of cinema, and Edward's heard me say this before, but it's like great horror movies, they've always been few and far between.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like each decade only has a few great horror films, like a handful,
But when I think about the 70s, 80s, there's like some decent ones, like scattered more than like that's come out in the last like.
You think so?
Whatever, like, well, because
there's always been a lot of crappy horror movies.
Oh yeah, it's
people think that's like a new problem.
No, it's always been
not a new problem.
Speaking as me, someone who loves crappy horror movies, yeah, they've been crappy horror movies
since the Universal era. Yeah. They started that trend of just shitting out sequels.
But I think what is different now than like what was. There's almost no such thing as a mid-budget movie anymore. It's either indie or like blockbuster. There's no like of that good middle ground where like you can really experiment with something.
Yeah,
I think the only guy that's left doing that is like M. Night Shyamalan, because like he makes his movies for like no money compared to like what they make these big Marvel movies for. So it's like so he can afford to like do something fucking stupid, like make that piece of shit movie Old, and like it'll still make money. And hopefully turn around and make something interesting again, because like he's interesting because he is very hit or miss. I think, but that's what I like about Shyamalan. He just like fucking doesn't care. He's just like, well, if I have this amount of money, we're gonna have fun with it, and we're gonna see what we can do.
Yeah,
he might make something good, like what's that one that's like really good? I'm forgetting the one with the aliens.
Signs.
Yeah, he might make Signs, or then he might turn around and make something fucking stupid like After the Last Airbender. But you know,
that was rough, man.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
But he's part of a dying breed, like the good mid-budget direct. Because like in the 80s, like that's why they made so many of those freaking Nightmare and like Friday movies, because they cost like $2 to make, so they're guaranteed to make. So like Paramount was embarrassed by the fact they kept making money on these freaking Friday the 13th movies, but they're like, they keep making money. Okay, we'll make one more. If this doesn't make money, we'll stop. And they're like, because it costs like $4 million to make, that makes $100 million at the box office. Like, well, we gotta make another one. It's just like it's cheap. It's cheap to make. I think there's like you lose something when you have like infinite money to make a movie. I think that's like you get too comfortable and you can just do whatever you want. You're like here, have like a CGI fuckfest on screen. It's like
I've said that before when Edward, we were in Johnny Roberts' horror class. We talked about this. I think I brought this up during one of the class discussions, like how I think horror works so much better lo-fi.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like big budget horror, like the movie It, the new It movie.
Yeah.
I didn't find that scary at all.
Yeah.
You know, just felt so Hollywood. There's CG in it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's creepy parts, but I would be totally fine. You know, I would much rather
Have that
in
cost.
terms of like fear level. Like if I wanted to avoid being scared, which is not usually what I try to do with horror movies. But if someone was like, okay, you're home alone at night, you either have to throw on, you know, the original Japanese Ring or It, I'd be like, fucking throw on It. I'll be fine.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. Now, if you're doing like horror, dark fantasy, which It falls into that category, especially the second half of the story, like It Chapter 2, then that's a different topic. You need the bigger budget in certain cases, but yeah.
It's like just with the with the grime and like you could do so much more for less if you took practical too. Like Tom Savini, like I was just talking about him, like with all those classic like 80s, 70s like slasher movies. He was the guy, and like all those movies were like made with like the budget of a can of soup and a couple like and a couple and like a couple T-shirts so that they bought. It's just like, but those look great, like as it's like practical effects, like that doesn't age like CGI will. Like I remember when I saw Black Panther in the theater, like that movie it's pretty good, but the end of it is fucking terrible because it's just like him and like Killmonger, whatever the fuck it's called. Like, they're fighting in that diamond mine or whatever. It's just like you could have just made this an animated movie. It would look the same. But you got Michael B. Jordan's head like awkwardly like fucking like
those look like PS2 like animations.
Yeah, it looks like a PlayStation animation. Exactly. It's just like, well, this is.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the music video for? You ever seen the music video for Black Skinhead by Kanye?
Oh yeah.
It looked just like that.
Yeah, yeah, and that is a PS2 music video.
Yeah.
That's funny. I was going to ask you, speaking of practical effects, Ryan, have you seen, I know you have not seen it, Edward. Ryan, have you seen The Void?
Oh, no, I've not seen it.
Okay, I would add The Void to your watch list because you're like a fan of like Reanimator, you said.
Yeah.
You do like The Thing by John Carpenter?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This one?
Yeah. Definitely throw that on your watch list. Dude, I think that was below $1 million that they made that for.
Really?
It's like mostly practical effects. It's basically Hellraiser meets The Thing.
Awesome.
It's like a mixture of those two ideas, very Lovecraftian. And it's like under a Lovecraftian. It's like Hellraiser plus The Thing sandwiched with H.P. Lovecraft bread, basically. Like that's what it is.
Speaking of Lovecraft, did you see the new Color Out Space one came on 2019?
I haven't seen it yet.
It's awesome. This is a great movie. Just Nicolas Cage is phenomenal in it.
He's in a renaissance.
He is. He really is.
At proportion.
Yeah. I've been waiting for this for years, the Cage Renaissance, because I have always held to my guns that Nicolas Cage is one of the greatest actors to ever do the craft. Because he's
I agree.
He's different. Like there's so many people who are like naturalism is the only way to go. Cage is bullshit. This is film. This is theater. We need to be.
Yeah.
So he's different. He stands out. Like, sure, you can have DiCaprio all day and be like, man, I really believe he's whatever. But Cage, you're like, fuck that. It's Nicolas Cage. This is why I watch movies to be entertained.
What's your favorite Nicolas Cage role?
It's either Vampire's Kiss or there's so many. Vampire's Kiss or Color Out of Space is really good.
Seen Mandy?
Oh, Mandy rocks, yeah.
I have not seen Mandy.
Oh, by that director?
No, I haven't.
You'll like that.
What's that one he would call with the Coen Brothers in the 90s? Raising Arizona, I love that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage as Nicolas Cage and The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. That's
yeah. And Pedro Pascal's in that movie too. I need to check that out.
It's really good. I saw it in the theaters when it came out.
Yeah.
It was pretty sweet. Yeah. Vampire's Kiss, I think, is a masterpiece in film. It's just great. Just he talks just like this the whole movie. It's just like the reason why he was imitating his dad or something. His dad was a professor of literature or something. So it was they based that off it.
That's funny.
He's like, I don't get the. That's right, Alva. You're the lowest on the totem pole here, and you have to do it. You have to. You understand? Or you're fucking fired. You understand? If someone was here just one day longer than you, I still wouldn't make them do such a horrible, horrible job. You understand? And then that whole time, his eyes are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and they even finish. He lets his eyes go back to normal. It's like, okay. Fuck you. I'm a vampire. Kill me. It's great. I love that movie.
Have you seen that one, Edward?
No.
Watch it every Halloween.
Okay. Yeah. I'll have to add that to the watch list.
Jennifer Beals is in that.
Face Off is good too. Do you like Face Off?
Yeah, Face Off is great.
I can't take it seriously. That movie's just hilarious.
Oh yeah.
I want to take his face. All of it.
Yeah.
Ears, nose, eyes, all of it. Just take it off.
It's a great concept because it's the true horror of somebody else being in your shoes, and sleeping with your wife.
I've only seen Face Off on VHS.
Really?
Goodwill with my friends, and I found a copy of Face Off for $1 on VHS.
Hell yeah!
So we immediately went to my house, got my VCR from my storage of shit, because I have the old Star Wars on VHS and before they did any of the editions.
Yeah.
So I
had those too.
Yeah, so I can watch Star Wars as it's meant to be watched. So
right.
So I put it in. I put it in Face Off. I've seen it 3 times. I'm away from watching VHS though, which is great because even though it's on VHS, you can still tell how obvious the stunt doubles are for Nicolas Cage and Travolta. Especially at the end. Remember when they're on the boat and it explodes? It's so obvious that is not John Travolta and Nicolas Cage.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Also, Travolta. I have a fascination with John Travolta simply because he is simultaneously one of the greatest actors, one of the worst actors I've ever seen.
That's kind of how I feel about Keanu Reeves.
Well, Keanu Reeves is terrible. He's a terrible actor. But he for a couple things.
The John Wick role.
He works good as John Wick. He works good as Ted and Bill and Ted. That's
exactly.
It's funny.
In
Dracula.
Oh, it's awful.
Oh,
I have offended you. It's just that's how he sounds.
He has this monster.
Yeah.
This monster sitting in front of him at the table, and he's just eating like it's normal. He's just thank you for inviting me into your home.
Their asses off.
Yeah.
And Keanu just looking confused the whole time. It's hilarious.
It's why is there a man with spiders for hands?
Oh, in that scene where he's supposed to be tortured by all the the vampire women, they're fucking him to death. He's Well,
but in all fairness, because I think you and I talked about this.
Yeah, we did.
In all fairness, he apparently he went from that. He was doing something. He might have even been doing Point Break. He went from one movie to the other. And before that, he was doing a movie. So he had just been going from a movie to a movie to a movie, and that was the third one. He apparently didn't have time to prepare, and he apparently was sleepless. So he was according to testimonies, including himself, he was saying that he was just out of it the entire production of that movie.
You can act through that. Because Michael J. Fox was doing Family Ties at the exact same time he was doing.
That's right. He was, wasn't he?
Quote from me says, "I'm 26 years old. Who the fuck needs sleep?"
Yeah.
That's right. He was because they were driving him from one set to the other, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, and it's like, the final, that might be a defense, but the final product, speaks for itself still.
The most recent John Travolta film I've seen was The Fanatic, which was directed by Fred Durst of Limp Bizkit fame.
Oh, wow. I haven't seen that.
It's a big old piece of shit. It's hilarious. He plays an autistic man very poorly.
Oh, boy.
It's so funny. There's this one scene. It's in the trailer. I don't know why they put this in the trailer. It fucking sucks. But he's breaks into this movie star's house because the fanatic. He's obsessed with him, right? He picked the character's name is Moose, but he picks up these moose antlers, puts them on, and says, "Moose is in the house.
Oh,
Moose is in the house."
Oh no!
I watched that back to back with Reservoir Dogs up at the lake one time, just to A/B shit and gold. So
yeah. Oh man, I bet Reservoir Dogs was a breath of fresh fucking air.
Me and my friend Grail were up there. We're doing shots every time they said slur in Reservoir Dogs. We're like, fuck yeah, this is.
Man, yeah. Every time Steve Buscemi's character on screen, he just like. Oh man, Edward,
why am I Mr. Pink?
Yeah, right. Can I be anything other than Mr. Pink? Oh man. Edward, what you got for us, man? What other topics you want to get into before we get into our recap?
I wanted to ask you boys. Obviously, this is really going to depend on whether you guys have listened to this. But did you guys listen to the new Travis Scott album?
Ryan has not.
No.
We talked about it, but I have. Yes.
Okay. So this could.
I'm ready to discuss this.
Say what?
I've been ready to discuss this, but I want to hear your thoughts because I've given you some of my thoughts on it already.
Okay. Yeah, because I it's fascinating, man, because I listened to this thing specifically because I was like, I put everything aside. I was like, I want to listen to this album so that Jake and I can talk about this thing. First and foremost about this album, the number one thing, like my first impression, like the number one thing that came up to my mind was that this is the most Kanye album that Kanye has not released. There's a lot of albums that I could say that about, but this is like a chief contender,
Yeah.
I agree. And it's funny because people have been like largely saying that, like even before I listened to the album, that was like a big part of the conversation. It was like, it was basically the conversation was people praising Kanye and being like, he really was ahead of the curve with Jesus, because this just sounds like that, And regardless of Travis's involvement with Jesus, it's interesting that he made this album, because this album, to me, doesn't sound like it's ahead of the curve.
Okay, what do you mean?
I mean it in the sense of like when I listen to Jesus, to me that album is like still impactful, or like I feel like there's still nothing that in the mainstream. It feels to me like nobody doing mainstream music has come out with that sound,
Jesus is a phenomenal, is a masterpiece of music. The fact that came out 10 years ago.
Exactly.
You listen to a Drake song from 10 years ago, it sounds like shit. You listen to a Drake song today, it still sounds like shit. But it's just like 10 years ago, it was shittier. That's just the nature of it.
I love it. Ryan and I were like, we got like shit-faced at dinner. Well, I got shit-faced at dinner last night. We're just shitting on Drake the whole time.
Well, he has a new album coming out, like if not tonight.
Drake for like a solid 5 minutes.
Well, either he has a new album coming out tonight or like next Thursday night.
Drake?
Yeah, he has a new album called like For All My Dogs or something like that.
He got another one. He's been releasing turd after turd. I'm surprised.
He really has, man. Yeah, what is... Yeah.
That one from 21 Savage is like legitimately one of the worst things I've ever heard. Yeah. Also, it's like one of the gayest things I've ever heard. Like, 21, can you do something?
Yeah, that was an iconic love between Drake and 21 moment, wasn't it? We were making so much fun of that guy for that.
Yeah. Yeah, that album was dog shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, continue on your Travis train of thought.
So that was the first thing for me that I was just like, oh, this is fascinating, because Travis Scott has, obviously he's pushed this album back by like 2 years since whenever that tragedy happened, like a year and a half, 2 years. So he's had all of this time to work on this album and to release something meaningful, right? And to release something cutting edge and ahead of the curve when all that we've had on mainstream hip hop is just the same. I didn't even bother listening to the Uzi album, because I know what's in there, So it's like, and now the same thing's true with Drake, where it's like he released that album with 21 like in February, and now we're getting another album from him. So it's like this guy doesn't even care at this point. He just releases music,
Because it's gonna chart. He doesn't have to try.
Exactly. So it's like
drones will simply just
music. So it's the strangest thing because at this point, over the past like 2 years, that guy's released like 4 albums. He's like releasing an album like every 6 months, and now the next one's coming. So it's fascinating that we're in a place on hip hop where it's so stagnant. It's completely stagnant and mundane and uninspiring. And you're like, oh my God, here comes Travis. Here comes Travis. Travis is gonna really switch things around. And it's like, oh no, Travis made an album that sounds like it came out in 2013 because there's a guy that already made the album. Because the funny thing is that this album that he made, it's like a combination of Yeezus and of Donda, and that's what's funny to me. Because it's like, dude, the guy already made the albums, and you were part of one of them. You were part of Yeezus in 2013. You have some production credits in there, but it's like you have to like look at yourself in the mirror and be like, oh geez, I'm kind of making this album that this dude already made twice, because this to me felt like Donda 2. Like Donda 2 never came out. Like this felt like Donda 2 without Kanye, because when you have songs like Thank God, and when you have songs like God's Country, My Eyes, and you have like so many like, kind of religious connotations and so many lyrics that are just talking about God, like the opening lyrics of fucking, Modern Jam. It's him just being like the savior, the true resonator, and being, So to me, I was just like, this is like a weird religious album that you're making, and it makes sense that he would come back from a hiatus, right, in which 10 plus people died because of him in part, right, although he was like cleared of those charges. But it makes sense. It makes sense that he would come back with like an album that had a lot of religious tones and a lot of kind of like, I'm talking to God and he's the savior, and I'm, so it makes sense, but it's interesting in just how it feels like a continuation of a sound that somebody else pioneered and in which you're not making any new strides, My favorite song in the album was Modern Jam. That was my favorite song. But the funny thing about Modern Jam is that even with the Tissot touchdown guy, like that guy that's like the like that kind of breakdown at the end, which is fantastic. It works every single time I've heard the song. Like when he comes in, it works. And even that guy just sounds like a continuation of when Kanye put like that thing at the end of that song in Donda where he was like, I am the blah, 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 blah. I don't know if you remember that. Like where he put like that meme of that guy. It just sounds like that, Like all of these ideas sound like borrowed ideas of being like, oh, I like that Kanye did that in that song, so I'm going to do it in this song, right? And I'm just going to expand it, And I'm going to make it maybe more musical because in that song it was like a meme that went on for 30 seconds at the end of that song,
I think the thing is with like modern hip hop, it's gotten too safe. It's like gotten too it's too easy to do it now. Like all through the 90s, everything had edge. It was just like it was like there was like some negative aspects of that. Now it's just like it's the most popular form of music now. So
right.
You're not being adventurous is not what people want to hear anymore in the general public. It's like how punk rock just kind of fucking died in like the 2000s when like the whole pop punk thing.
Now it's coming back.
Cheap to do. It's just like and then everything just sound the same. It sucked again. I think it's coming to a point now where like someone needs to come along and like there needs to be like I don't know, because there's still good stuff coming out, like on.
Yeah,
but just like
you have to dig for it though. It's not. There's nothing mainstream really comes
like
out
Kid,
that I'm
Kid
really
Cudi's like the
fucking
only
with.
like really mainstream guy I really like. He hasn't
Same here,
he hasn't put out anything like truly crazy in like a minute. So it's like it's just we've gotten to a point where like I think it's like hip hop has become it is pop music now. There's no like
right.
It's not pop music or hip hop, but it's like gotten to the point where like a lot of pop music gets where it's just like samey and like just safe. Really, like 10, 15 years ago, you would never put the words hip hop and safe together.
Right.
But now it's like
right.
I don't know. It's like freaking big budget like movies like are paying rappers for like songs now. Like that didn't happen. Like
no,
it's like you got like the Barbie movie has like rap singles. Like the freaking Minions movie had a damn rap single.
Yeah,
so it's
yeah.
It's like it's
the Spider-Verse movies.
That's different. Those were good though. That's the thing.
Oh yeah, those are good. Yeah,
but like
I'm just saying, like it's the machines like backing it.
It's become a big. It's now a money making enterprise more so than purely art. Well, it's never purely artistic because it's a music business first and foremost. But like, I think a lot of the artistry has been lost. It's just a lot of very much like.
Yeah, I agree.
That's why I've fallen into my like weird obscure, as I said at the start, my weird womanly folk music and just like like weird shitty like just like bluegrass folk and like weird country music because it's like these people know they're not going to make a ton of money doing all this. They might make enough just to make a living doing it. Yeah, no one's becoming like multi-millionaires off of playing the banjo, so it's like there's a bit more of a hunger still to it where like you can still like kind of, like in my love of shitty movies, I've also like shitty rap music has become a safe haven for me. Or just like they'll just throw anything at a wall to see what sticks. Yeah, like, it's interesting because it's like wow, this is funny. Like it's like you'll get stupid shit. This is what I like, just like stupid shit. Like they'll be like rapping about like Super Smash Bros. And Melee or something. Just like it's hilarious.
Exactly. That's why I love. I've mentioned it on the podcast before, but Chief Keef is one of my favorite hip hop artists. He's like one of the only, him and Travis, I think, are the only guys that are really elevating the trap subgenre still. I can't think of one other person that actually has like recently been elevating the trap subgenre. But like, you know, because like Chief Keef, he raps about fucking cartoons and video games, and then in the next bar is rapping about, you know, shooting somebody, that's and then he makes all his own beats. He has like weird freaking sounds in them. He's always experimenting. But yeah, I agree, Edward. And like the thing is too is like personally, like I've just and you know this, but I've realized over the years that I think Kanye makes great music. I just don't think a lot of his music's really for me. Like I like the odd song by him, but there's something about his music, and it showed up on this Travis album for me, where it's just there's a lot of just stretching things out, you know, in those like weird like sort of ballad kind of ways, you know what I mean? Where like he does that thing where like he abandons the song structure and it goes into like this long kind of synth ballad, or it'll, you know, go in weird directions and stuff. And there's something about that where I like when Kid Cudi does it, but there's just something about the way Kid Cudi does it and the sounds that he uses and the candy that's in there that works for me. Whereas with Kanye, I always have found it just kind of tedious. And I felt that way on this album by Travis, where it was just like it just felt like really some of the songs felt really tedious to me. Where it stretched things out, and it was just like
it's performative. Like, look how cool and weird I can be with this.
Yeah, like the drums stop, and then the synth for like a minute just goes like.
Yeah, because I remember that you and I once had a conversation about like Pablo. And you told me that that's something you didn't like about that album. That they were like breakdowns like that. Like when there's like, I know there's like that one song that ends with just like this like weird like computer like alien voice, like I will find you. You know what I'm talking about? I know that you told me that. You were like, I don't like that happens. So I can see that, but that's the interesting thing about to me with that guy, because I appreciate that, and I think for me it's because like for him it was like
Kanye.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm saying this because there's like two elements to the career, you know, because and this is like my favorite thing about him and my favorite thing about like certain filmmakers, right? Which is just like willingness to change. Because obviously, if you listen to, you know, Dark Fantasy or Graduation, Dropout, Late Registration, 808, it's like none of that's happening in those albums, you know, and none of that is happening in Watch the Throne, you know, none of that's happening, you know. But then it starts in Jesus. Like Jesus has that interlude. I think the very first song in Jesus, I forget what the name of it is. On Site, I think it is. Yeah, it's On Site. Like On Site has this like section where, you know, the song is like so like loud and heavy and industrial and like oppressive, you know. But then it has that break where it just goes into this soul sample for like 15 seconds, you know. And I love that in that album. I remember my brother told me, but my brother, that's my favorite. I think my brother's favorite part of that song is when that happens. Yeah. And that's when I noticed that about that. 'Cause that's when he started doing that. Nobody else was doing that, you know. Even if people were messing with industrial production, you know, obviously Death Grips was doing that. They were the front runners of like industrial hip hop and experimental, right? But for him, the way that he I feel like distinguished himself within those sounds was by just creating this like weird like Jackson Pollock like songs where it's like you're just getting like a bunch of like different palettes. And then it's like, oh, this is going to work. You know, I'm just going to force this together and it works. And for me, it worked. Like, for me, it worked in Jesus. And for me, it worked in Pablo. Because Pablo, to me, was like an exaggerated version of that. You know, like an even uglier and messier version of Jesus. Of like, we're going to do even more. You know, and this album, I'm going to randomly have these like screaming sections and this, you know, like this weird like alien sounds and this weird interludes, and songs are going to break apart, and that's just what's going to happen, you know. But you know that I love that, because to me that's like my favorite album of his, just because I was like, oh, this is great, you know. The same reason for why I've been able to appreciate, you know, certain filmmakers over the years, because of being like, okay, you were doing this kind of movies, and now that you're getting older, you're doing these kind of movies, and I actually like these movies more, you know. Like, I like these newer movies that you're making more than I like fucking Hard Eights, you know, or Magnolia, you know. It's like, these are the cool ones now. Those old ones are okay, you know. So that's like my appreciation that I've had with him, and obviously it hasn't always worked, because as you know, like that Yay album doesn't really work all that much for me. And neither does Jesus is King, you know, but I do like Donda a lot, even though Donda is like the sketchier of that method. But funny thing is that Yay and Jesus is King don't have that. He kind of did away with that, and those albums are more like rudimentary, right? And then obviously you have a standout between those two albums, which was Kids See Ghosts, which is obviously like a perfect album. But where I come into this is, and it's exactly the point that you're saying, in this Travis album, it doesn't work. It doesn't work, you know. Like, for me, it doesn't work. For me, like Ryan was saying, it kind of shows his face, and then it becomes like really obvious. And then there's songs like Modern Jam, like I said, where it works. And I'm like, okay, I dig it. When this happens, I'm getting goosebumps, you know. So it's reminiscing of what happens to me when I listen to Jesus or when I listen to Pablo. But in listening to this album, then every other song, like that Drake song, right? Every other song, I'm like, it's really showing here that you're really aping this kind of like art, like, you know, sound technique, and it's like kind of silly because I can just see it.
You're cramping on Kanye's style.
Right.
It's like, this happened. Like, we want something new now. Like,
exactly.
You're silent for like 2 years, and you just show up with something we heard 10 years ago. It's
exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
Could have been a lot more like out there. Like, it's like, I don't like Travis Scott. I've never liked Travis Scott, but like, I can say Sicko Mode is unlike anything I've ever heard.
Oh, for sure.
That was unique when I heard that. I was like, I was like, man, this sucks, but it sucks in a totally new way.
Yeah.
To him, I guess. So I was like, and all the stuff I've heard off Astro World, I can say that like it doesn't sound like anything.
Yeah.
But,
oh,
like,
absolutely, man, absolutely.
I haven't listened to Utopia yet, but like if like if it's anything, like I could see how that sounds like a pretty disappointing thing. Like it's like big, it's just like it's just Yeezus again. It's just like come on, could have. Yeah. Look at like Yeezus is I think is the greatest rap album released in the last 10 years. Like I love that album.
Yeah, I have a pedestal. I have a pedestal of albums that are all are tied, and I think Jake probably knows which albums those are.
Of Kanye's?
No, of like hip hop, like of the last 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously have Life of Pablo on there, right?
Yeah.
What else would you put on there?
Yeezus, for sure.
Yeezus. Yeah. Is Donda's on there too?
No, Donda's not on there. Donda's too messy. That album's actually like really flawed.
I feel like Donda could have been cut down to a single album instead of a double album. I think having those 40 tracks or whatever is just excessive. It's just like, because you can pick out like an album's worth of good songs and like
exactly, dude. Like I feel like if Donda had been like I'm gonna say if it had been kind of like a 15, 16 track album, it would have been perfect. Like there was
it just feels bloated. It's just like so much of it. Like the only one I can remember right now, I listened to it like 2 times on release day. No, I just never listened to it again. It goes like, oh, that sucks. And I was like, I thought Hurricane was good. I thought Jail. I remember that one purely because it baffled me of like how strange it was.
Yeah.
And like Off the Grid, I liked Off the Grid.
Off the Grid was great, yeah. But to me, to this day, like Moon is like probably the standout on that album.
Not a Chant, I remember that one simply because it's weird. Just the first Donda.
And I guess to this day, Moon remains like the last like collaboration with Kid Cudi rather.
That's right. Yeah, it's a shame, man. It's a real shame.
Yeah,
those guys make great tracks together. I mean, like Guilt Trip is my favorite song off Yeezus. That's like one of my favorite Kanye songs, probably. Kanye and Cudi, man. They make great songs together. So that really sucks, man.
That really sucks. Because if there was a pair of people that every time that they made something together, like artists, and every time they hit it out of the park was those two guys. They never failed. Yeah. Like they don't have a single miss. Not a single one. So it's pretty sad.
Yeah, they're all their songs that they have together are just freaking certified classics.
Yeah.
It's Me, all of Kids See Ghosts, Guilt Trip.
Yeah.
Make Her Say, that's a pretty good song.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
But
Gorgeous.
Yeah, Gorgeous for sure. But I guess to finish like my tangent on the whole Travis thing is that it just kind of feels stale and it feels try-hardish and it feels kind of apey, because it's like, oh, you're just taking this sound. For instance, I don't know if you noticed this, but the song Circus Maximus is just New Slaves again.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I didn't notice that.
So it's like it's the exact same sound. Like if you listen to that song again, you'll see that it's like the exact same song.
Interesting.
Like I think he took the production. I don't know if he like credited it, but it's like I think he sampled that song. So he's like it's like outwardly even doing things again from those sounds, And there's a lot of songs in that album that there's like 2 or 3 songs that sound identical to like that song Fade from Pablo. So there's like a lot of Kanye like posturing and stealing and taking, but I just didn't think it worked. I didn't think it worked. I honestly don't think. I think Travis is just like a few steps below as a producer, and I just think he couldn't make it happen. And even if he could have made it happen, it still wouldn't have felt like kind of like magical in a way, because you already know the sound exists, So that's really kind of my take on it. I thought it was an alright album, honestly. There's like songs in there that I enjoy.
Yeah. I feel the same way. I mean, it's all right. I think, it's a shame because Travis is an artist. I'm a big Travis Scott fan. I know, Ryan, you don't care for Travis Scott, and then Edward, you're like lukewarm on Travis Scott.
No, I'm positive because I like most of his album. I've listened to everything he has, and I like most of it.
Okay. I'm like,
and I didn't think this was a bad album. I thought this was decent,
Yeah, I thought it was decent too. The thing for me is like, there's something going on. There's something that's been going on with Travis for me since Astroworld came out.
Mm.
It's that I think there's just a magic that Travis had going for him, man, in the days before rodeo and rodeo days, like where he just had this, he was aping styles and stuff back then still, but he was unique. He was unique in a sense where it was like, you could compare him to Kanye, but it was like, he's more trappy than Kanye. He uses more auto-tune than Kanye does. You could compare him to Cudi, but again, more trappy. He's covering, way different, completely different subject matter to Cudi.
Mm-hmm.
They do not go.
He's their love child.
I think it's because he had something to prove back in those days. Like
exactly.
Because Astroworld was a way bigger hit. Like that was like omnipresent in like the culture. Like everybody heard that album. That sold like huge amounts. Like, and also like he had he played the Super Bowl. He did all this shit in like the last several years. It's just like I think it might have gone to his head a little bit that he could like handle. Like he could kind of phone the second one in. Just he phoned Utopia and just like it's like this whole like. Because I think this has happened so many times. Like band will get like really big or whatever, and it's just like it's never as good as it was in like the days when they like had something to like prove themselves to the world. So it's like,
and that's the funny thing, because and that's I guess what I was trying to say about it, that at some point as an artist, or like as a person who's making art or making commercial art, it doesn't matter. At some point it feels like you plateau, or you're like, it's like this is just what I do, And I feel like then you get artists that just go like, okay, now that I've plateaued, let me see how I can challenge myself, and make something interesting and try to keep innovating, And I feel like that's where people like Kanye fall into. And then you have people like Drake that they just go like, I'm just going to maximize plateauing. Like, I'm just going to maximize mediocrity and I'm just going to go with it for as long as I can possibly do it. And I'm surprised that guy's being able to do it for that long. Because obviously, like, Post Malone already fell off. Like his past two albums have been horrendous. Nobody listened to them, and they're not even selling. So it's like, so I'm surprised Drake has been able to just be mediocre or bad for so long. And I feel like for Travis, I think he
markets himself better than Post Malone.
Yeah, I think but I feel like for Travis, I feel like he's at a crossroads where he realized, like, okay, I've hit my plateau. Like. Astroworld was it. That was kind of like the peak of the sound that I was kind of like moving forward. And I think for this album, this was the equivalent of him saying to himself, I'm going to challenge myself while staying within within the boundaries of mainstream and not actually pushing anything, Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, and this is my thing with Travis, right? Because like Astroworld I thought was pretty good, but I do remember when it first came out. I mean, there's some great songs on Astroworld. I think, Stop Trying to Be God is probably one of my favorite Travis songs. Can't Say is one of my favorite Travis songs. Wake Up, Skeletons. What's the other one I'm trying to think of?
R.I.P. Screw?
Yeah, yep, there you go. That's exactly what I was trying to think of.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite ones in there.
But there's a lot of forgettable songs on Astroworld as
Absolutely,
well. Like,
yeah.
Fornication's not very good in my opinion.
30% Tint.
Yosemite's really bland. Sicko Mode sucks in my opinion. Stargazing's like
Stargazing. Yeah, I was thinking about that.
But it's very like laid back. He's being, he just sounds really comfortable on that one. There's a lot. Who What with Migos is just crap. I mean, there's a lot of songs on Astroworld, but and I feel the same way about Utopia, where it's like, are there great songs on Utopia? Yes. I mean, I think my favorite songs, my top 3 songs off Utopia, in order, counting down from 3. My Eyes, I Know. And top song on the album for me is Telekinesis. I think Telekinesis is a freaking incredible song.
It is a great song. Yeah.
Just blew my hair back.
Yeah.
I mean, fucking awesome. That song was straight off of Rodeo.
Yeah.
And you know what though? Every time a Travis song, single or album these days, like ever since Astroworld comes out, I go back to Rodeo, and I'm like, fuck, Rodeo was so good, man.
Yeah.
Like even the hit song Antidote. I was listening to Antidote today,
Yeah.
and I was like, this is a great song, man. I had that song stuck in my head all fucking day today, dude. Like, that's a great song. Maria, I'm Drunk, banger. Nightcrawler, banger. Apple Pie, like everything on that album is a banger. And Birds in the Trap was when I started. I remember as a Travis fan, that one always felt more like a mixtape to me, where it was just like, that was a very basic like trap record in my opinion.
Right.
And anyone who wants to challenge me on that, the song Coordinate is literally a TM-88 beat that is also used for Juicy J's Bossed Up.
Yeah.
Okay, so don't tell me it's not a basic trap album. It's a basic trap album. It's good, but it's basic.
Yeah.
But I forgave that back in the day. I was like, it's decent. And back then, too, I wasn't as big of a Travis fan. I started to become a big Travis fan in anticipation of Astroworld re-listening to Rodeo. And I feel the same about Utopia, where it's like there's great songs on it, but a lot of it is pretty forgettable.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's weird. But a lot of times that's all you can really ask for with an artist, I guess, is like some great songs off an album. I mean, can you really, a great album top to bottom is a rare thing, I guess. So.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, we've kind of gone backwards in terms of like what music was, because it used to be all a singles game, like the 50s to the early 60s, and the Beatles came around. They're like, okay, now every song on the album is going to be amazing.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then we entered like the album age of music all throughout the 70s and 80s, where it was all album sales. Like singles were still big, but album sales, that was what made your money. But now it's like, it's coming into this now where the streaming age, it's all singles again, because it's like that you want the one sound, you want that. Like the album is an afterthought almost these days. It's like, cause like the album tracks, like, I mean, some bands will still put a lot of focus on the album. It's like, smaller things like that, but especially like pop things now, like things that are like popular. It's very much a singles game again. It's not like about the whatever. It's like it's about getting that. Also, it's like it's all hooks again. It's all hooks, because it's like you want to get that you want to get the TikTok soundbite.
The earworm, yeah.
Yeah, you want that 30-second hook, and just like you're like people are like, fuck yeah, that's the shit right there.
Oh yeah, that's what everyone's chasing, that dragon. But the thing is like you can't chase that, man. That no, there's plenty of non-hit songs with really catchy hooks.
Uh-huh.
They just didn't have the luck. It's really
a totally organic thing with like the whole TikTok. Things will become like hits after. They're like, I remember like some songs from the '60s started charting a few months ago, because like for whatever reason, like shit was like went a little semi-viral on there. So it's like it's like totally like you're at the whim of like whoever. So it's like you can't
fucking algorithm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because you think about some of the songs that have gone viral too. I mean, like one that comes to mind is that went TikTok viral a while ago was No Idea by Don Toliver. And I remember when I realized that song went viral, I had been listening to that song before it went viral, because I was, back in the day, I was like a big Don Toliver fan when he first came out, and we all first heard him on Astroworld. And I'm not a Don Toliver fan anymore now that he's just sort of become this weird sort of new Akon almost, where he's just sort of like this hit/feature generator now. I don't know. I don't fuck with him anymore. But I used to fuck with Don Toliver, like when he first was around. I thought he was really unique. But like I remember when I realized No Idea was a viral TikTok song, I was like, really? That song's not that earwormy or that. Yeah, it just didn't seem like hit material. But yeah, it's like it's just at the freaking. At the mercy of the algorithm, I guess.
Yeah, it's weird for me, because I only interact once a month. I'll try to see what normal people listen to again. I'm just like, this is what's popular now.
Yeah.
I don't, because it'll be totally different to like what it was like somewhat popular the month before. I'm just like,
Yeah.
because you got all your mainstays on the charts. You got your Drakes, you got your Travis Scotts, you got your Olivia Rodrigo's, whatever, and like your Doja Cats and all that. I was like, that's always. But then like this stuff that crops up in the middle, I'm like, what the fuck? Where'd that come from?
Yeah.
Because I'm off my own little world of like, I listen to what's popular of shit that's not popular. So I'm like, this is fun. And I sit around and listen to my weird little fucking banjo music. I'm like, this fucking rocks. And then like I'll pop my head up into the world of like normal people. I'm just like, man, y'all are weird. I'm back in my own like little realm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same. Edward and I are, we both, similar to you, like do a lot of digging in the music world where we're just thirsting for something.
Yeah.
Because I like things that just put me on edge. Because it's like I can't listen to the same stuff over and over again. Like,
no.
I have my things I like, but like my playlist will terrify the average person. Like I'll have, and then immediately I'll have like some like a real girly pop song from the '80s, and then like. It's just like it's totally just a very vast array of like bullshit I listen to. It's like this is it's fun. It keeps you on your toes, and like if you hit shuffle my like songs on Spotify, like it will scare like most people.
I'm too OCD for that. Like all my playlists, I have massive playlists, but they're all genre.
So the same for me. Yeah.
If I want to like scare somebody, I'll do the old shuffle thing. Like here, let's see here. Like
we might have to cut it out.
But here we go. This is like real sad, womanly. Like this is just a song about depression and stuff. Then we got this, an old man singing about New York. Old 50s country music,
doo-wop type shit.
That band I was talking about, the Gangsta Grass.
Oh yeah.
Beatles, weird stuff. Hollies,
James Taylor.
Yeah, like this is German late 80s German pop music, just real weird stuff. Oh, this song rocks. But yeah,
that's a wild playlist.
This right here, this is killer. This is like heavy metal before Black Sabbath.
Wicked Lady, I'm a Freak.
Yeah, these guys rock. Wicked Lady rocks. Two old listeners out there, listen to Wicked Lady.
All right.
68, that came out. It's good stuff.
Nice. So those are my thoughts on. Anyway, just to wrap up Utopia, those are my thoughts. I didn't even have anything else to say about that one. Did you ever?
No. That was really it. Honestly, it's not a bad album. It was just it's behind the times.
Yeah.
Hip hop has officially peaked. There's nothing else to do anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because the numbers are sort of backing up what we're saying. Because I think I saw something. I didn't watch the video, but I think it may have been Hip Hop DX, that channel on YouTube. They're a solid YouTube channel. I like those guys. They make really good videos about hip hop. But I think it was them. It was one of those types of channels. But I think it was talking about how. I think hip hop. I think we've only had one number one charting hip hop song this entire year, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm not sure which one it was, and I don't know if that's changed now that.
Probably one of those Drake songs, honestly.
Probably it was either Drake or like Lil Baby or something. I think Lil Baby, but I think his and Lil Baby's barely selling tickets. I know. Yeah,
Lil Baby's washed, dude.
Yeah. Well, I know, and another thing that's going on too, I saw a video about recently, is like a lot of rappers aren't selling tickets because they've been acting like jackasses, like coming in late, not putting
right. Nobody wants to sit through that anymore. Obviously, you and I are going to, but nobody wants to do it.
Yeah, dude, I'm just waiting for us to walk into Death Grips next weekend, and there's just a chair, like you said.
We have to. They just has a little note. I apologize. And be I'm sorry. Stay legend.
But yeah, because I mean, dude, like my sister, your sister too went. My sisters and my mom and stuff, they went to Taylor Swift recently, and it's like, she puts on a freaking event, you know, and then these like, meanwhile, you go to a 21 Savage concert, and it's like he's 2 hours late. Yeah, and he just goes on stage and says 21-21. Time, and then it's over. You know what I mean? Like, and a lot of people, a lot of hip hop fans are saying too. They're like, good. Like these fuckers need to learn this and not treat their fans like.
Yeah, they need to like act like performers. Like, this is why I like being in my little world of like musicians that have like less than like 2 million people on like Spotify, because like.
They got shit to prove.
The shows, you go to the shows, and like you're never gonna pay more than like $30
exactly.
to go see a show, and there'll be like a couple, maybe 1,000 people there, and like you can hang around after the show, and if you're lucky, you can like
you can talk to them.
Like, hey, your album rocked, and then like get a picture with them. Like you're not gonna do that at a 21 Savage show. Like he's gonna be bussed away in 16 limos, and like it's like a whole. And, like, they'll work hard. It'll be a damn good show. Like, one of the best shows I've seen all year was from this band I'd never heard of when I was last in Nashville. I went to this place called the Station Inn. It was a band called Lorraine Jordan, Carolina Road, just all these guys from East North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Great show. It was killer. It was amazing.
Really?
They played hard, fast. It was amazing. Sang great.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, and then I just went up to like the merch table after where they're all hanging out there. I was just like, hey, great show. Can I get the CD signed? They're like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Nice.
I got it. Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, man, you gotta give fans an event, man. And that's the thing too. Like with a lot of gangster rap concerts too, man. They're like fucking dangerous. I mean, you know,
yeah.
you on the news, like people have been shot at like Migos concerts, You know, like dude, I talk about Chief Keef all the time. I'm never going to a Chief Keef concert.
Really?
I am going to a Chief Keef concert, man.
You might die, yeah.
Yeah, there's no way these gangster rap concerts, because they're all like still, you know, like
it's fucking hardcore still. It's like
they're you know, they can't get out of the life, and I don't know.
This is why I like going to like punk and metal shows, because like you can go, if you want to be dangerous, you can go in the mosh pit and like
yeah, that's right.
My uncle did punk rock for a long time. They did a reunion show last year down in Columbia. There were like 3,000 people came to that. I was in the mosh pit when they started, because we went through all the openers. I just hung out.
Oh, really?
When they opened with their first their song, I was in the pit for that. It's fucking awesome.
Oh,
I was being like thrown around shit. All my phone, and my mom was like, "Here, hold this. I'm gonna like have some fun." It was just like I was getting thrown the fuck around. Just like it was awesome.
That's gonna be us next week.
Yeah, I'll do it for sure.
Funniest thing is though, I was there with my friend Bennett, and then he was hanging out there, and I think like a couple songs in, he gets sucked into the pit without wanting to be there, like because the pit just kind of engulfed him. So
yeah, it's like this sea of humanity.
Like, oh fuck, shit. He's like I was like, where the fuck did Bennett go? Like 2 songs later, I see him. He's like sweating and like out of breath. I'm like, what happened to you? I got sucked into the pit, man. I'm like,
yeah, it's a very real possibility that till the end of the concert, like we won't see each other except for the beginning and the end of the concert.
Yeah, I guess we'll see, dude. We'll see, man.
I wish y'all good health at the Death Grip show.
Yeah, right.
Are y'all going to the Fillmore? Is that where you're seeing them?
It's at the
Underground.
It's in Charlotte. Wait, what's the first one you just said?
The Fillmore.
I think it is there.
Fillmore. Yep.
Yeah. I saw. Damn it, who did I see there? I saw Bad Omens there, and I saw. Who was it I actually went there to go see? I can't remember. It's this really good. It's a really good metal band from Canada. They got this girl that sings for them. It's crazy. She'll do the clean vocals, but she'll also do like the screaming vocals, like all the time. I don't know how she does it. Like, in her voice
just switches between.
Yeah, she's like, like real high. They're just like,
yeah.
Like, and then she'll go back to singing high again. I'm like, how the fuck do you do
that?
Yeah. Spirit Box, they're great. I saw them there. So yeah, it's a good venue.
It's a good venue. Yeah. Okay, awesome. Yeah,
it's like tiered. I think because it's a little complex there. If you're on the same stage that I went to, like you can get up above the pit and like see like the whole stage if you want.
Yeah, that is how it's laid out.
If you want to, then it's yeah, you could do that. Or if you're fucking crazy, you can go down the pit. You could hope MC Wright spits on you or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, instead of moving into a film this week, I guess we just move into recaps.
Yeah.
and then we call the show, man.
Yeah.
Call it.
Call it.
Edward, give us your recap.
You've been putting it up your whole life. Well, my recap is, again, Travis. And to repeat myself, not a bad album. Decently enough, enjoyable album. Just left a lot to be desired. On the other hand, as I've continued, I've listened to Gorillaz. As you remember, Jake, that I was doing that last time.
Yeah.
But I've only listened to one Gorillaz album. So the only things I've listened to is Gorillaz and then Travis. I listened to Plastic Beach, which is their 2010 album. I think this is also their third album. So it's Gorillaz and then Demon Days and then Plastic Beach, I think. There might have been another one between them. The fall might have been in between those. But let's just go with that.
It's a great album.
Yeah, no, Plastic Beach is a great album. So basically for them, as you remember last time, the first album is kind of a mixed bag, but still good. And then the second album, Demon Days, is great. And then Plastic Beach is also great. So they have two great, really great albums. Highlights on this album are, let me think, Rhinestone Eyes for sure. Stylo with Mos Def. And Mos Def is amazing in that song. And on Melancholy Hill are great. So those three songs, if you want to get into them, listen to those three songs.
Okay.
Amazing album. But that is the beginning, and that is the end of my recap. Other than that, it's been doing anything else but listening to music.
Well, I went and pulled an Edward this week and saw no movie. I watched no movies since our last episode.
Oh, actually, I did watch a movie, but this is something that I actually want to bring up with you when you watch this. So we're not going to talk about it right now. But I watched the Barbie movie.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
That's right. You did say you were going to go see that with.
Yeah.
Who was it? Yeah, with someone with.
Yeah, but that was it. So
podcast, but
yeah, but that was it. I watched that, but I want you and I to actually have an actual in-depth conversation about it when and if ever you watch, and if you don't ever do, then we won't talk about it.
Okay.
Because this movie is a really hot button topic, and I feel like it's creating a lot of polemics about it. So I'll refrain, but I watched it, so there's that.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha. All right. Let's see. So yeah, didn't watch any movies. I, as I mentioned, have been watching Stranger Things. This is actually my first time watching Stranger Things.
Well, that's right. We all made fun of you last year at the beach.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because I saw a few episodes a long time ago, but I never actually binged the show. But I'm binge watching it now. But it's interesting because I'm a huge, obviously just from this one episode, anyone can glean. I'm a huge fan of, 80s horror, all horror, but 70s, 80s horror. That shit's awesome. Those were two great horror decades, and so a lot of folks were surprised when I said I didn't watch Stranger Things. But I don't know. In a sense, that is kind of it's almost the same as saying you're a huge Simpsons fan. I can't believe you haven't seen Family Guy. Mm-hmm. It's you haven't watched it's The Imitator. You know what I mean? It's not The Thing. So I don't know. I think that's pretty sound logic. Anyway, Stranger Things is great, man. I definitely see why a lot of people like it. What I'm most impressed by with Stranger Things is, and I never realized this, is just how many 80s and a couple, at least one 70s horror film or sci-fi film that they borrow from and seamlessly integrate into the story. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have stuff that they borrow from, or are inspired by. You see shades of, Jaws, Close Encounters.
I think Aliens all over that first season too, because you never see the whole Demogorgon. It's
Oh, that's true. That's true. Because I thought of Jaws with the way they built it up, but Alien, great. Yeah, great point. Poltergeist, Nightmare on Elm Street, Firestarter.
How many seasons have you seen of Stranger Things?
I'm on season 2 right now.
All right,
I know Vecna is very Pinhead.
Yeah.
Inspired.
Season 2 is like probably my third favorite.
Okay.
Season. I need to rewatch it again, but 2 and 4 are my. One's my favorite season. Nothing can beat season 1 because it's perfect kind of.
It is, yeah.
Because they didn't know if it was going to continue on, so it was tied up with a nice little bow.
Exactly.
It could have gone on, but it could have stayed there. And I think the theming is the best of it. 2 and 4 are interchangeable, like how good I think they are. Season 2 has one episode that I absolutely hate, but I just pretend it doesn't exist.
Okay.
3 is just a little goofy, but I like 3 overall. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but I keep going about the whole Stranger Things thing.
Yeah. And it's just great. It's binge worthy television for sure. It's just it's written really well. There's stuff here and there that bumps for me.
Mm-hmm.
And not just in like a flip of the hand, like whatever kind of way. Like there's things that are like, there's a few things that are like, all right, really, like that happened, but nothing like major, no major issues with the story. There's like minor like plot conveniences here and there that are a little, like make you roll your eyes a little bit, but they don't completely, wreck the story or anything.
I think Winona Ryder really knocks it out of the park in that.
Yeah, you read my mind. Like Winona Ryder is just like incredible in the role that they put her in.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I think she channeled some of her like personal issues in that role. Yeah. Possibly, I don't know, because she's very like her child is missing and throughout the whole season, so she's just frantic, like losing her mind, and. It's a lot like Poltergeist, where it's like the kid. There's a lot of shades of Insidious and Stranger Things as well. It made me realize how influential Insidious was as a film on the horror genre. But yeah, Stranger Things is awesome, man.
I think the sets are really great too, because it really captures that brown early '80s. Because when people think of '80s, they think of the bright kind of neon, like 85 and afterward kind of look, but really the 80s up until like especially in '83 when the first season says very like still '70s, like with the floral couches and just the very drab at how everything looks. It looks like how as bad as the movie Friday the 13th is, how that movie, the first one sucks. Yeah. Like it looks like that dirty kind of grimy, like just dark kind of look to it. I like how it has that look. My favorite thing about Stranger Things, it's almost redundant, but that title sequence is so cool. Like it looks like the old stop motion, like film, like moving it around. Like it looks dirty. You see little specks of dust in it.
Yeah, exactly.
The soundtrack for that show, like not even talking about the licensed songs that they use, because those are great. Not like White Rabbit and all that shit, but like
the actual score.
But the score, like how it's all done, like old like '80s Juno synth. It's just like God. That's like it feels like an old John Carpenter movie or something. Like
yeah. And you're right, because like funny thing about the '80s is like if you actually watch '80s movies didn't really feel super 80s-ish until like the mid to late 80s. Yeah,
if you see Heathers, like
early 80s movies still had the 70s kind of feel.
Yeah, they had that grime to them, which I like. It's like it feels like you shouldn't be watching it. It's like, wow, this is disgusting.
Yeah, like Poltergeist has it doesn't have that aspect of it, but like it doesn't feel 80s.
No,
it's not super 80s.
It feels 80s. Isn't slick. It's not slick. It's still got that like edge to it, like that 70s kind of feeling it has. It's like all the Indiana Jones movies have that grit to it that I like. It's like the best movie I think that pulls off like that slick 80s thing the best. I feel like, but to its benefit. Have either of y'all seen Heathers?
Yeah, I've seen that movie. Yeah.
That total like John Hughes, like real slick '80s movie kind of thing, but like turning it on its head, just like this is like how bullshit.
Yeah, no, that's a good movie.
Yeah, I love that movie. Also starring Winona Ryder.
Yeah,
yeah. And by the way, Winona Ryder is like still really sexy. By the
way, this is true. If you say otherwise, you're wrong. It's the case.
Yeah. Okay, so that's that, and then also, which it's a really it's kind of a.
This was my lock screen forever.
Oh, that's hilarious, man! I would know.
Wait, what is it? Let me see it.
That's like the Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
That's 89 when that picture was taken. That's
nice. And then kind of a similar show, not in tone or style, but in concept. I actually started. I only watched the first episode, but I started the German series, Netflix series, Dark.
Oh, I started watching Dark. I need to finish it. Like, I watched the first 2 episodes. Like, this is awesome. I never finished it.
Yeah, the first episode, because what I realized with what works about both of those shows, Stranger Things and Dark, is they keep it about the characters first and foremost, and the domestic issues of the characters. You know, it's like there are love triangles, friendships being tested. You know, new romances.
When you're watching Dark, do you do it dubbed or you do it with?
I have to do subtitles.
Yeah,
I have to do subtitles. Yeah. I tried the dubbing for like a second because I was like, oh, it's Netflix, they'll do a good job. No,
it's all right. It got too distracting to me. I can't.
Yeah.
No.
Side tangent a little bit, but in Germany, you know, like they fucking hate subtitles in Germany. Like as a
really?
Like dubbing is like big business over there.
Really?
Like. George Clooney has a guy in Germany who dubs over all his parts in every movie.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's how it is. That's how it is even in Spanish. Like when I grew up watching Jim Carrey movies, he sounded the same in all the movies. It was the same guy doing Jim Carrey.
Yeah, that's how it is in Germany too. Like there's a whole awards. There's a whole business around it. Like they have meetings. It's weird stuff. The guy that does George Costanza's voice, I think, is the same guy that does Bob Odenkirk. Don't quote me on this, but there's some weird overlap in some of these, so it's just kind of funny.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's big actors will have the same guy do their shit in all their movies, so it's there's consistency to it.
Did not know that.
Yeah, my professor, one of my professors, she was telling me George Clooney. She's like, oh, George Clooney's my favorite actor. But he's like, yeah. So but I know him better by his German voice.
That's funny.
Nice. Yeah. So, yeah, to tie up what I was talking about with that's why the reason Dark and Stranger Things work so well is because they put those human aspects at the forefront. You know, it's where I honestly, I feel like when I watch Stranger Things, I care way more about whatever little love triangle is going on than I do about the Demogorgon, the monsters and stuff. You know what I mean? They make it. That's why those shows work, though, and that's why anything.
The Demogorgon's
works.
The through line. It's not the main focus. It's more so the what's getting you from point A to point B. It's once again with the comparison I made to Alien. The movie's called Alien.
Mm-hmm.
The xenomorph is the main thing, but you barely fucking see the thing. And it's
exactly.
It's always present, you know, on the minds of the kid. But all what you care about is what the fuck Ripley's doing, and the weird robot guy, and everyone else getting picked off slowly.
And that's the thing. You can have that's a huge lesson for writers. Is you can have the coolest concept ever, but if the human stories aren't working, then no one's going to give a shit. Case in point, it got canceled. Altered Carbon on Netflix. Great concept, really interesting concept, sci-fi concept. It was a cyberpunk thing, and it's hey, the rich can have, they call their bodies sleeves, and when their body gets old, they transfer their consciousness to a new sleeve, and they're immortal.
That's kind of like Society.
Yeah, it's not complete. I'm sure it's not completely original.
Yeah,
but it's a good concept, right?
Society kind of 88. That's a. Society's a fucking weird movie. If you ever want to find something, it's a pretty good movie actually.
Okay, I've never.
The effects are insane in it. It's mostly an effects showpiece, but the story is decent.
Really?
Yeah, it's about this guy he thinks his family's all going insane, and they're all they're these rich socialites in LA or whatever, but he's the only normal one. He's all just this weird shit's going on. He's trying to figure it out. It's revealed that all the rich people are these fucking arcane Lovecraft monsters that
oh shit.
It's called Society.
Yeah.
Society.
Yes, Society rocks.
I gotta add that to my list here. Yeah, man, that's the thing. You know, it's like with Altered Carbon, I stopped watching after like 3 episodes because I'm like, oh shit, my phone died. After like 3 episodes, I'm like, I don't know anything about this main character. I don't know why he's doing anything that he's doing. He has no backstory or no hints at a backstory. It's like a video game, you know. And like, you know, as good, it's like, you know, as decent as the concept of Stranger Things is, it's like no one would fucking care if the human stories didn't work. So anyway, just a little rant there. But same thing with Dark. It was like, you know, immediately in the first episode, there are domestic issues, love triangles, cheating, you know, this guy's cheating on his wife. This person's jealous because his ex-girlfriend's now dating his best friend. Like, it's just things like that keep your story interesting. Like, that is why people tune into Stranger Things. It's why people tune into reality TV. It's for the fucking humans and the humanity.
Reality TV is actually a perfect thing because there's no through line to it. Like, well, there is, you know, they script all that shit. But, like, ideally, it's all just, like, you're watching it because it's, like, interaction. Like, you don't give a fuck about the overarching anything. It's just, like...
Writers can learn from that because it's the human stories that we care about. And, you know, the shark in Jaws, the xenomorph in Alien, the lightsabers in Star Wars, that shit is icing, you know? Anyway, off my soapbox there. And then my phone died, so hopefully I'm not missing anything in my notes. But I'm pretty sure this is all I have. Oh, just finished. I've had plenty of time to read on the beach this past week, so just finished that novel that I was reading, Blacktop Wasteland by S.A.
That's right, yeah, you mentioned that last time.
Yeah, for those listening, this is a crime thriller about a novel about a guy who is a former getaway driver for bank robberies and jewelry heists, and because he's under great financial constraints, has a family to provide for. His mom's in hospice or whatever. He gets back into the life. It's a familiar story, you know. It's a story we've all seen before, but it's executed like very well. It's predictable in a lot of ways, where you see a lot of stuff coming. It's enjoyable in the same. It's tonally not the same as a Tarantino film, but it's in the sense it's similar to a Tarantino film in the sense where you've seen this before, you know where it's going, but it's a very enjoyable ride. I couldn't put the book down until I finished it. It's a page turner for sure. S.A. Cosby is a great author. I read his book just last month or a couple months ago. I read his book, Razorblade Tears, and that was a phenomenal book as well. I thought that one was even better, and that's I believe his latest book. But he's a great author. Check him out. And then finally, on the music side of things, I'm at the beach, so I've been listening to a lot of reggae and a lot of beachy music. So I worked a couple days. I worked Monday and Tuesday, so that's when I listened to a bunch of albums top to bottom while I was working. I like to listen to a lot of Jack Johnson when I'm at the beach, so very kind of acoustic, semi-reggae flavored folk music, very beachy to me. So I listened to Brushfire Fairy Tales top to bottom, On and On top to bottom, and then In Between Dreams top to bottom, his 3 kind of classic albums.
Which one of those has Holes to Heaven on it?
That one's Holes to Heaven? I think that one's on and On, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it is too. That's one of my favorites. I like that one.
Yeah. But these are great albums. Especially, I think Brushfire Fairy Tales is my favorite. There's some really thoughtful songs on it. Mud Football is lyrically one of my favorite songs. There's great storytelling where I believe it's dedicated to a friend of his, maybe, who passed away. I'm not sure exactly what the backstory is, but the concept of the song is, you know, just being kids and playing tackle football in the rain and talking about the best line of the song is, "We used to laugh a lot because we always thought that everything good always would remain." And I always thought that was a great song. Great lyrics.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jack Johnson, he's probably best known as the Curious George soundtrack guy. But
really?
Yeah. But I knew who he was way before that Curious George album came out. My parents had been playing Jack Johnson when I was like 6. Yeah, so he's so much.
Before I was 6, I was hearing Jack Johnson. I was like,
yeah. Oh yeah, he's awesome. He's great.
If I had like Steely Dan and Jim Croce are like my earliest memories of anything. So
yeah, that's awesome, man. And then been listening to a lot of reggae at the beach, man. Listened to a couple Peter Tosh albums, top to bottom. Listened to Legalize It, top to bottom. That's a great album. Wanted, Dread, and Alive. That's pretty good. Not quite as good as Legalize It, I thought. A little poppy for my taste, but still a solid reggae album. But the king of reggae is still Bob Marley.
That's right.
And his son Ziggy Marley is a contender as well. I listened to Ziggy Marley's album Dragonfly, top to bottom. Songs like the title track, Good Old Days. It's a great album, man. But Bob Marley's the king, man. There's no comparison between, like, Peter Tosh is a great reggae artist, but he doesn't touch Bob Marley. Bob Marley particularly Bob Marley's vocals. Peter Tosh, his music, his albums have solid production, but
no one can touch Marley's vocals.
Marley's vocals were on another level, man. Just his songwriting and vocals and melodies, just amazing. I think my favorite Bob Marley album is Natty Dread. I think that album has the best, just great production. Lively Up Yourself has some great like flute sounds and saxophone, and just doing a lot with the production. So Jase, great, great, like just a lot of ear candy in there, man. He was really pushing the boundaries, I think, of what reggae could be.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my recap.
What you got?
Yeah, over the past week, what you been watching, what you been listening to?
I ain't seen a single movie in a hot minute. Yeah. It's been a minute since I've seen a movie. The last movie I remember watching was the Rankin and Bass, The Hobbit from the 70s.
Oh, yeah.
I was bored one afternoon after working at the museum. So that was pretty sweet. I watched that. I can't remember anything else I've watched since then.
Okay.
Wait, no. A few days ago, I did watch Monty Python, The Holy Grail.
Oh, okay.
Because I watched that far too much. I watched that with my friends up in Burleson. That was pretty sweet.
Oh, man, I haven't seen that since I was, like, probably 9. I got to revisit those Monty Python movies.
I love it. I watched a lot of episodes of I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson on Netflix. That's a great show.
Yeah.
Really funny.
That one's describe that one for the listeners who might not.
It's a sketch comedy show that's like on crack. It's like
yeah.
It's like he wrote for SNL for I think a couple seasons, but he's like out there completely.
Yeah.
Like it's just totally like abstract, like the terms of humor. There's this one where he's like describing like a viral video, but it's like the crux of the video, like he couldn't find one to watch like at his job, so he makes one.
Oh, okay.
It's called Bozo Dubbed Over. But it's like the girl's like it says that this was uploaded at 6 a.m. and it has one view. Yeah, have you seen it? And it's just like him like dubbed over footage of Bozo. The console's like, oh, I hope I don't fucking jack off. I'm not even fucking supposed to be here.
It's a Clerks line.
Clown pewter. Probably got no games. Fuck that. It's stupid. It's like it's genius. Like how stupid it is. Like,
dude, the one you were playing today, where they were watching viral videos, and the guy like couldn't think of.
Yeah,
they were all like,
that. That's later on that same episode. It's the follow-up. It's just the whole thing's just like this. Like there's just one where like he's like on like a ghost tour, and like the guy's like this is the past 10 a.m. tours. That means we can say whatever the hell we want. I have a question. Did any of these fucking ghosts ever come out and just have a fucking huge cum shot? Like, horse shot? What the fuck's wrong with you? You're ruining the toys. I'm sorry. I'll call it. It's like, yeah, any of these motherfuckers just fucking come in through the fucking wall with no clothes on, with the fucking hat, like the fucking big ass sack, like hanging out and shit. It's like the dumbest thing. It's like modern art, and like the same, like a child could have done this, but like, yeah, but they didn't. He did it. He's doing this. We're like, it's so dumb. It's genius. It's like,
yeah.
I think he's great. I've watched far too much of that.
Yeah, some of those sketches that you were playing this morning were damn funny.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of Seinfeld because I'm simple. In terms of music listening, I've been listening to the album Long Time Album by Sierra Farrell over and over again.
What's the genre on that one?
I don't know. It's gypsy jazz, bluegrass, country, pre-war country.
Wow.
Old time. It's very strange. It's very good. She like changes up what she's doing like every other song. I saw her live like 2 weeks ago and it was pretty awesome. I met her after the show, so that was pretty sweet. My other thing I've really been listening to came out last Friday. Is the new Molly Tuttle and Golden Highway album, City of Gold. This is amazing. I've been waiting for this for a year because she put her last album out last year.
And for those listening, this is bluegrass.
This is strictly bluegrass. This is Molly Tuttle is the best guitar player in the world, no holds bar right now. Like,
could you repeat their name?
Molly Tuttle.
Molly Tuttle, okay.
Molly Tuttle. She is the best guitar player in the world right now, no holds barred. She is freaking killer. I've seen her live 5 times. She's amazing. She can sing like nobody else, and just like, perfect music. It's got, it's got some songs that Crazy thing is this. There's this one song, the title track, El Dorado, the first one. I heard this song. She played it live for the first time back in September when I saw her up in Virginia, and that was fucking crazy. I was like, this song is awesome. And I waited like almost a year for it to come out. So it's like it's been big time. Like 9 months after the fact, I finally could listen to it. So it was pretty sweet.
Nice, awesome, man.
All right.
Well, shit. This is normally when we'd get into the movie.
Yeah, right. This would be the time.
Yeah, as expected, tangents were aplenty this week. So yeah, that's it for topics for me. Anything else you wanted to say before we end the show, Evan?
No, for those folks. End the show. Yeah, to end the. You mean to end the show? To wrap? For those folks that the film section might be the favorite part of the show, that'll be back next time. Something interesting that I wanted to say is for the audience, leave us your recap, so that way we can have access to some new things. So put down in the comment section what you've been listening to, what you've been watching, what you've been reading. Doesn't matter, just put it down there. On this episode, as always, as we always say it at the end, don't forget to comment and like and subscribe. And thank you so much, Ryan, to being with us in this episode.
It's been lovely. I hope to be back, but talk about an actual movie instead of just random bullshit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, for next week, my pick for whenever we do this podcast next time, in honor of our guest, is going to be Vampire's Kiss.
Okay. All right.
I'm down to talk about that.
Hell yeah. Man. Yeah, that'll be awesome. All right, yeah, but dude, seriously, come on anytime. This was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
This was super fun, man. Just shooting the shit and going on, really living up to the title of the podcast.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, this is a purely just tangents.
Yeah. Well, films plural tangents this week. Yeah, that was great. But yeah, thanks guys. Like and subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified. And we will see you on the next one.
Hey, next time on Film Tangents.